Hello. Hi, everyone. You should be able to hear me now. Daniel is just helping me do sound check and everything. So, hey, reporting from Facebook. There's Dan. Hey, Dan. Hope you can all hear me. How's the sound? Is it okay? Is it clear? Do I need to be louder? Am I too loud? Etc. Sounds beautiful. Excellent. Does this cause any clipping? Or was it just a nice aggressive chord? Dan, I know there's a delay. Make sure Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch are completely muted, Mike. You're getting the loop of death. Oh, wait. I'm getting the loop of death? Are we sure? How? I don't hear anything. Oh, hey, Pietro in the chat says, perfect, maestro. Actually, my bad, that's actually me. Ah, okay, there's no loop of death. Hey, Pietro, good to see you. My student Pietro is in the chat on YouTube. And Philip Alovic says, good sound. Thank you, Philip. That's, well, I mean, part of it's my playing, but it's also due to this gorgeous cedar guitar built by Ross Chiasson. Perfect sound. Sounds great on YouTube and Facebook, says Dan. Nick Karastathis. Hey, Nick. Nikos. Nikos says sound is great. How you doing, Nikos? Are you in Greece? Tell me where you are right now, because I got some time before the concert starts to hear about it. Isaac. Hi, Michael. Looking forward to hearing your music. Isaac Engel. Thanks, Isaac. Well, it's not really my music. I mean, it was all written by others, but I'm glad you're looking forward to hearing my playing. Yeah, I should probably stop looking like so intensely this way. Maybe I can put the iPad in a place where it looks a little less awkward when I look at the chat. Silas says, hi, Mike. Hey, Mike. Hey, Silas. How's it going? Oh, Nikos, you're in Germany. Crazy. All the way from Utrecht to Germany. Oh, that's right. You told me you're moving to Germany. Nikos is one of the first roommates I had when I arrived in the Netherlands. Fresh off the plane. Are you doing more like a PhD there, Nikos? Is that what's going on? What time are we at? 8:40 here. Looking forward to hear you playing. Thanks, Nikos. And it won't just be, and Nikos hearing me playing this time won't just be through the walls of our apartment, but actually over live stream now. Fresh strings, am I right? Never in tune. Simon Farintosh. Good luck, Mr. Mid. It's so nice to see so many people in the chat already. Thanks, Simon. Hashtag blessed. Yes, indeed. Nice. Yeah, is it weirder that I look down here for the chat or over there? What do you think? What are the votes? Down and to the right or look far left to the chat? Where should I put this iPad where I have the chat? Oh, TJ Liao. Hey, I know this guy. Yeah, I have to watch like 3 chats. Oh my gosh. TJ Liao, the Cactus Room says, hey, I know this guy. Hey man, how's it going? It's good to see you here. Oh, and my dad on YouTube. Hey, we're here from Suskova. Cold snap just started. It's snowing now and temperature feels like minus 27. You know, I don't really miss the minus 27 temperature being in the Netherlands now. I mean, like, I do miss the snow. We had snow here, what was it, like 4 or 5 days ago? Maybe a week ago? We had like one night of snow and it was so magical. And then it melted by the next morning again. And so I still kind of miss the snow. Like, I wish there was a bit more of it, but I have to say that having not having the brutal winters that I had in Edmonton and Calgary when I lived in those cities is nice. So Nico says he's studying physics, still doing a PhD these days. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but that's awesome. Where in Germany are you? I think you told me, but I'm terrible and I forgot. Which city are you in? Dan, can you let me know, like, should we wait till 9? I guess I should probably wait till 9 to start, since that was the advertised starting time. And I don't mind hanging out with all of you for a little bit before I start playing. Oh, Magdalena in the YouTube chat. Hi, Magdalena, another student of mine. Nice to see you. Happy to see you. Good luck and enjoy. Thank you. Yeah, Magdalena is great. We met in Utrecht, and she's been studying with me since. She now is back in Austria, where she's from, in Graz, but we do these online lessons, and she's playing all this. She plays, Magdalena, you choose the best music. That's why I enjoy your lessons so much, because we always do like really cool stuff like Dire Straits, or right now we're doing radio video, System of a Down. We're doing System of a Down, which is super fun. Jessica Turier on YouTube says, looking good, Mike. Thanks, Jess. She's in the other room. Ben, I wasn't first comment. Sad. Hello, sounds so good. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, you didn't get first comment. I'm kind of like a little bit shocked that you didn't get the first comment. Usually you're the first one. Almost always. Can anyone guess what this piece is? We should do like guessing games until we're ready to start. Oh, Jessica says, kittens are ready for the concert. I'm sure they are. If you guys hear like some scuffling on the floor or something, it's probably Loki, your neighbor, running through here. Sergio, so good to see you. DOT dot, what does that mean? Dot, I just want to be part of the stream. That's fair, man. I want to be part of the stream too. That's why I'm here. Would you guys believe that this is my first live stream performance? Like where I'm playing solo and the point is just to perform. Although the point isn't really to perform, like you can see we're doing a lot of chatting. Yeah, I mean, I've done all these live streams with the Messy Desk, like interviewing people and stuff and making them perform, but I've never been in the hot seat online like this. So it's a first for me. Oh, sounds granted as well. We can wait till 9 to start for sure. Okay, thanks, Dan. You can take a break and start then, just so people show up when they expect it to start. The sound is unbelievably good, man. I'm buying those mics ASAP. Yeah, these mics are great. I have to thank Julian Bertino. Maybe some of you know him. He's a 10-string guitar. Well, he's a classical guitarist, but he plays a 10-string out of Ottawa. And he recommended these Aston Starlights to me, and they sound great. Like, I think, yeah, he was saying that, you know, they're sort of like if you want to get Neumanns, but you can't afford Neumanns kind of thing. I mean, I think they have a similar comparable quality personally, but yeah, they're great. Sorry, Dan, what do you mean by take a break? You can take a break and start then, just people show up when they expect you to start. Like walk away and walk back, like an entrance or something? Or what, like take a break as in? Yeah, let me know. I mean, I'm happy to just noodle here and talk to people until we start. Oh, not like a little break, but you can switch to the banner if you want, but do your thing, honestly. Okay, well, I feel like I'm already talking with people. This is like kind of more fun than just waiting without the banner. I mean, I guess maybe I could put the banner on and warm up without you guys having to listen to it. But make me do an exercise. What should I play? I like to warm up with these kind of slurs. I don't know, arpeggios. Just get consistency in the right hand, you know? Tremolo. Wait. Bet you didn't expect to hear this. No, I'm not actually going to play that piece. Too mainstream. Just kidding. Ah, Pietro, che bello. Grazie, Pietro. Would you guys say this guitar sounds warm? Warm and full and rich. I would say so. Because I'm asking, because I have a friend, some of you might know him, Steven Dintom, a luthier. I don't know if he's here yet. And he has this thing against cedar guitars. So, you know, just here to prove him wrong. Oh, actually, I should share the stream on my Facebook. What am I doing? Okay. Sorry, guys. I gotta share it with all my followers. Anyone have any good jokes? Put a joke in the chat. Something appropriate or mildly inappropriate. It's up to you. And mildly is, of course, subjective. I just might not read it out on stream if it's too inappropriate. Okay. Shared. Woo! Share it to your timeline. I guess, should I share it on my business page? I guess probably. Artist pages. Facebook, making you start 2 pages to waste time on. Share to, share, no, more options. Share to a page. We're gonna do to this page. Share. Okay, shared. Nice. Okay, and then put the Facebook or YouTube chat back. There we go. Okay, I think I can still see the YouTube chat now. Nice. Okay, well, so many messages. The sound is unbelievably good, man. Oh, hey, Mike, Javier here. Looking forward. Thank you, Javier. This is another student of mine. Nice to see you, man. You know, maybe you should join and play your tarega. That would be cool. Almost feverishly. Thanks, Dan. Feverishly warm. See, Steven? Feverishly warm. Beautiful warm sound. Okay. I went to a fortune teller who told me that in 13 years. Okay, this is TJ, Cactus Room. By the way, everyone who's on Twitch, check out the Cactus Room. TJ Liao is another alumni from UBC where I used to go in Vancouver, and he does these awesome practice streams. He's like an unbelievable player, but also like very entertaining and fun guy. Also plays Minecraft on the stream, so if you're into Minecraft and classical guitar, then it's great. He says, I went to fortune teller who told me that in 13 years I would experience immense grief and sadness. So to make myself feel better, I bought a puppy. Was that a joke, TJ? I don't get it. Does someone else get it? I don't get it. It was a joke. Okay, I don't get the joke. Okay, anyhow. Hello, Mr. Ibsen. Steven is here. I came in just in time. Nice. Yeah, just in time for me to criticize you. I'm sorry. That was just, I couldn't help myself. It does. The sound is okay. Spruce Squad is here. Oh no, Philippe and Steven are like teaming up against me as a Spruce Squad. I do have a Spruce guitar. I have a beautiful Spruce guitar by Marcus Dominelli somewhere in the other room, which I also love. Isaac, I appreciate how you're stringing things along till the concert starts. I know, I should probably be warming up, but this is honestly more fun. Tell us why your cedar sounds so warm. I mean, I don't know if I can tell you why, Steven. It just does sound warm. It has a warm richness. Probably because of the expertise of Ross, the luthier. Anyone can tell me what this motif is? Or stay tuned to find out what it is. Daniel, Ross Chestnut, thanks for creating a guitar. Yes, Ross has done a great job. Ben also has a guitar by Ross that's really nice. I haven't played it yet, but I would love to. Oh, I'm missing the YouTube chat. Sorry, y'all. Okay. pieces. Any idea? Ben's seconding Daniel. Just so everyone knows who's like tuning in, I'm like killing time because the concert's supposed to start at 9 was the advertised time. But everyone, welcome. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, please put them in the chat. I'm gonna try as much as possible through the concert to like address what people are saying and you know, like answer questions. I think I've chosen a really interesting program, and I think it will be like fun to hear all of your guys' opinions on it, your thoughts, and what you know what you see in it. So TJ's the only one who's come up with a joke so far. Anybody else got one? I can't be the only funny one here, right? Steve Cowan, Mr. Mibbs, sounds gorgeous. Thank you, Steve. Much appreciated. I appreciate that. We love your plugs, says Steven. Yes, these are very beautiful ones. They're very nice gold bling. Please excuse the quarantine haircut. You know how it is. Actually, Jessica cut my hair. She did an amazing job. I was just about to say. Jessica cut my hair and she did a great job. Yes. Dank. We love your plugs. You did an excellent job, baby. It's just like that's not what I did. I'm in trouble, guys. Oh no. Anxiety's rising. Oh, Simon says, your earrings are distracting me. I cannot focus on the performance. Well, Simon, maybe you should take some responsibility for how you view me. You know? Philippe says, these plugs are epic. Imagine the guy watching from the Mallorca Duo video. Yeah, the reason everybody's talking about my plugs and my beautiful haircut is because me and Filip Alovic, who's in the chat, who's an excellent composer and guitarist also, and he and I recorded a recording of Mallorca by Isaac Albéniz for Sika's Guitars. Well, I made the recording and then Sika's agreed to publish my video, and there was just a couple trolls in the comments like complaining about my earrings and being like, shame, it was such a good performance, but then the earrings ruined it, etc. So that was funny. We appreciated that moment, you know. Just stare into the void and fall into bliss. Yeah, Daniel, that's exactly it. Yes. No, but that was a fun video to make. We went to like Altastenberg, where Steven lives in Germany. I was able to go because this was in October when like the first wave was kind of dissipated and the second wave hadn't really started yet, and I was able to get a test and everything before going and when coming back. And Steven was like fixing up my guitar because I played this guitar so heavily for 5 years that it was just like, through no fault of Ross's, it was just like there was a lot of issues with it because I had treated it so intensely. And Steven like fixed up a whole bunch of stuff, and he found us this little chapel to record in, and we went and recorded in it. It was a lot of fun, and I got to test out these new mics in like a beautiful space, and me and Philippe played on a bunch of his guitars, 3 of his guitars. There's still a few videos I'm editing from that session actually, which will go out soon. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And that's where that Mallorca video came from. And then this, hilarious comments about the plugs, which we constantly reference now, apparently. My tuner is running out of battery. This is bad. Oops, I shouldn't have told you there's a tuner. I'm totally tuning by ear. Oh, okay. I hope I'm not the only one who thinks I'm funny. All right, Daniel, can I start? Can I start talking about the music and stuff? Because it's 9 now, I think. That would be cool. Steven says, rock and roll, bro. Yeah, exactly. Go. Steven says it was a wonderful weekend. Oh yeah, Dire Straits. I'm hoping someone would pick that up. Thanks, Isaac, for noticing it was Dire Straits. Oh hey, Sylvia's watching. Hi Sylvia, Auntie Sylvia. Nice. Okay. Daniel says I can start now, so I'm gonna start. Hey everybody, just pretend the last 20 minutes didn't happen. My name is Michael Ibsen. I'm extremely grateful to be here on Daniel Ramjattan's Concerts for the End of Time live stream series. Very excited to play for all of you. I have a kind of interesting program I've put together here, which I think is quite interesting and cool. I'm going to put it up on the screen for you all to see because I want to talk a little bit about what music I chose and what orders. And, because this is a live stream and I know all of you aren't stuck in chairs in a room forever. You can get up and you can use the washroom, you can get food, you can do whatever you want while you listen. So I don't feel bad about using up your time because you're not stuck in a hall or something. So we're going to talk a little more tonight about the program and about what I'm playing. Oh, okay. So this is the program. And you can see it's kind of in a V shape because the program I've designed is sort of in a palindrome, so it's symmetrical. And the thing is, I need to record a new CD this year because I think my last full CD was 5 years ago. It was my first one also, and I have some other stuff I've been putting out on Spotify. If you look me up on Spotify, you'll find it, which is just various nicer recordings from throughout the last year, little EPs and releases and stuff. But I want to record a full new CD. So this program is sort of based on some of the repertoire that I'd like to put on that album. And there is a theme. I know it might look sort of not random, but odd selection of music. But the theme that I've kind of chosen for this is the idea of apocryphal pieces. So apocryphal meaning something outside of the usual canon. So in theological terms, these would be books that didn't get included in the Bible or something like that for whatever reason. I mean, often political or cultural, but or just because people had disagreements and someone won the argument essentially. But I thought it was an interesting concept thinking about the guitar repertoire. I've realized that throughout my time studying classical guitar and training as a guitarist, I gravitate towards pieces which are a little outside the normal canon, let's say. And I'm not making a value judgment on whether that's good or not, but it's just what I've tended to find myself gravitating towards. So all these pieces do that in some way or another. So the first and last pieces I'm playing, the ones with the blue text, are two pieces which kind of fill in the gaps of a repertoire that I'm missing. So I'm gonna put this program away, and I'm gonna talk about each piece as I come to it, and then I'll bring up the graphic again so you can see where we are in kind of this arched timeline of the concert. So the first one I'm gonna do is this Hoppstock Willcocks Debussy Variations. So Tilman Hoppstock, who you can see in the bottom left there, is an amazing German guitarist and composer and arranger. He's an incredible musician, incredible composer. And For a while now, he's been writing under a pseudonym of Allan Willcocks, and this is like basically a fictitious composer he made up that doesn't exist, never existed. And like I said, this is kind of filling in a gap of the repertoire a little bit because we don't have a lot of what's, the so-called French and English impressionistic music of the early 20th century. There's some Spanish stuff that kind of fits in that idiom, but we don't have much written by composers in that sort of epoch and that style. So Tilman was writing under this pseudonym of Allan Willcocks, this composer he made up from the early 20th century. He said there was an English composer. He wrote a whole bio for him, had some like pictures of like old photographs that looked similar of him throughout his life from different photographs. And for a while there was even a Wikipedia page. So it was like a real sort of I don't want to say hoax, but like it was like a real fictitious thing he made that a lot of people actually bought into, which is kind of funny. Eventually, it became public knowledge that this was Tilman writing under a pseudonym. I just thought it was kind of a brilliant way to address a gap in the repertoire, so to speak. So this piece is a variations on a theme by Debussy, who is obviously a famous composer from that era. The theme that he uses is from Debussy's piano prelude, Des pas sur la neige, which means, my French is terrible, but it means footsteps in the snow. And the theme is this one. It's just 2 intervals. So essentially D, E, F. And it's a very simple theme, which makes it great for variations. And Tilman, throughout this 10-minute piece, kind of like builds up all these different harmonies and stuff around this very simple motif. So it's really cool how he uses it. And I think it's a gorgeous piece. I learned it because I was doing, up until recently, doing a master's in Maastricht here in the Netherlands with Carlo Marchione. And I was playing a Brouwer sonata at the time, the 5th Brouwer sonata, which has this same theme in it, buried in the 2nd movement. And I didn't realize it was Debussy. And Carlo said, "Oh, don't you realize this is the Debussy quote?" And then he said, actually, Tilman just wrote this piece recently with this quotation. And so I was able to find the score. It was very, very newly published. So it's been a joy to learn it, and I hope you enjoy it. I'm just going to check the chat one more time. MS Paint goals. Thanks, dude. Yeah, this is Paint 3D I use because I'm not like really, super versed in photo editing. So I know it's a little bit colorful and weird, but it's what I made. Oh, Dan, did you just put is that Spotify link my Spotify? That would be cool if it is. Yes, and Daniel put in the Facebook chat the name of the piece. So, Variations on a Theme by Debussy by Tilman Hoppstock. Just checking the YouTube chat. I think it might be... Oh, there we go. Okay, nice. Alrighty. Let's play some music. Thanks. Oh, thank you. Oh, I do get to hear some real applause from Jessica in the next room. Hey all, thanks for, it's so weird not having the roaring applause from the crowd, although from Jessica it's good. Do you think, okay, so I'm just trying to catch up on the chat here. You could use Canva. Yeah, I've heard good things about Canva actually for making like text stuff. Michael, please DM me about your setup. The guitar sounds amazing. Lane, hey Lane, good to see you. Such a full sound. Thank you. Just if anyone's wondering, because Lane brought it up, I'm using a pair of Aston Starlight microphones. Aston microphones are, I swear I'm not being paid by them, but they're a company out of the UK, and all the microphones are made in the UK, and I think they provide really good value for the cost. And I'm running it through OBS, and I'm using a little bit of Valhalla Room Reverb plugin, a VST plugin. And the Valhalla plugins are all like $50. They're really affordable. So yeah. Beautiful tone, says Steven. Sounding lovely, Mike. Thanks, Tim. And Philip Olovich says, nice one. Thank you all. The roaring sound of Bernie Sanders listening. Okay. Just checking the YouTube chat. Thank you for these amazing sounds. Thank you, Pietro. I'm really glad you liked it. Okay, I think I'm caught up on the chat. Gorgeous Michael, big sound. Thanks, Jarmstro01. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to bring back the program here. So you can all see it right there. Okay, so that was the Tilman Hoppstock / Allan Willcocks Debussy variations, which you see on the bottom left. There, yeah. Next I'm going to play the two preludes by Emilia Giuliani. Now, maybe some guitarists know who Emilia Giuliani is, but basically every guitarist will know Mauro Giuliani, who was actually Emilia Giuliani's father. But Emilia's music has not been played as much, which is why it sort of fits into my theme of apocryphal outside of the usual, traditional canon theme. And when us guitarists hear Giuliani, first of all, we think those god-awful arpeggios. That we all had to do for like 800 years. We think of those arpeggios, but we also think of his amazing compositions, Mauro Giuliani's amazing compositions. And, to me, when I hear the name Giuliani, I think sort of like classical, very much classical period, maybe early romantic, kind of light but virtuosic music. And yeah, in some ways, I guess, heavy too. But it's interesting playing Emilia Giuliani's music because she's obviously much more in the sort of romantic style. Especially in the first prelude I'm going to play, I hear like this really beautiful sort of almost Chopin-esque chromaticism. And she was apparently, according to the reports, an incredibly virtuosic guitarist, and I can believe it because the preludes are quite intense, especially for what you would consider a prelude to be. Especially the second one I'm playing, which is the one I've played for the least amount of time. So we'll see how that goes. But like they're pretty flashy and virtuosic, I would say, in some ways. But yeah, they're lovely pieces. Emma Rush recently put out a CD with some of Emilia Giuliani's music, which is really nice. And more people should play them. They're great preludes. I think there are 6 preludes in total. I'm going to play the first and the second. Yeah, anyone in the chat saying anything? Canvas so good. Okay, nice. Okay, I think I've caught up on everyone. So let's hear Preludes number 1 and 2 by Emilia Giuliani. Oh, I should have retuned before I talked. Can you all remind me next time to tune before I talk? Because then I can talk and let the guitar like settle and then tune it again, you know? Would have been smart. And the second half. Huh? Just tell your joke. Oh, yes. Jessica's telling me to tell my joke. I'll tell my tuning joke in the second half when I have to tune way more. And then if anyone else has more tuning jokes in the chat, they can give me some. Oh, that's too sharp. This is so weird because there's no audience here and I'm by myself in the room. I'm like, have this like external monologue dialogue going on. Like, I think that's in tune. Seems good. Okay, let's hear some Emilia Giuliani. Yeah, Nathan Bredeson says definitely 19th century sounding, much more modern than her dad. Yeah, for sure. Some of these like sequences of octaves, it's pretty out there. I did replace some of the higher E's with harmonics so that I could like switch positions more easily. But I thought, you know, sounds like Emilia was a pretty flashy virtuosic performer, so I figured she wouldn't object to spicing it up with some harmonics. And also making it easier to play faster. Javier Frias is beautiful. Thank you, Javier. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, they're great pieces. I love those little preludes. And yeah, the chromaticism in the first one is so nice. It's like this bass line is so romantic, way more modern, definitely, than Mauro. Okay, I'm going to bring up the program again here, and remember to drink water and stay hydrated. It's a good idea, right? Oh, who's this on YouTube? Buckminster Fluffster. Buckminster Fluffster. I don't know who this is. Says Mike Ibsen is a delightful human and musician. Thank you. I wonder who, I'm gonna have to look at who Buckminster Fluffster is later. But that's like the best name I've seen on YouTube in a long time. Okay, so next on the program is, in green, you can see Tova Kardonne, the piece Negotiation. So like I said before, the program is kind of a palindrome. You saw like I started with the Hoppstock, Willcocks, Debussy variations. I'm ending with Nathan's Sonata in Homage to Shostakovich. Then I had Emilia Giuliani, which is sort of older music that's not really often heard, and I have later a Scarlatti sonata that's not often heard, and then these two, the next inner bracket is these two Canadian pieces, this one by Tova I'm going to play, and then the one by Jason Noble, Shadow Prism. So these two pieces, this part of the palindrome, this bracket is kind of like very contemporary music out of Canada. So I'm a big proponent of playing contemporary music. I think it's a great thing to do as a player. To get to know music by composers who are living, especially composers like from your region and stuff. So I like to play some Canadian music when I can. And I have a duo with Nathan Bredeson, who's in the chat, who also wrote the last piece on the program tonight. And we're called the Made in Canada duo. I know, super original name. But we only play new Canadian music, so that's like our shtick. And Nathan actually played this piece on our first tour together in late 2019, so like a year and a half ago-ish. And like he played it, so I got to hear it every night for like 2 weeks. Well, not every single night, we didn't play every single night, but I got to hear it a lot, and I really fell in love with the piece more and more throughout the tour. I think by the end of the tour, it was one of my favorite pieces on the program. So the piece is called Negotiation, and Tova, as a composer, has sort of a varied background. She's a violist, and multi-instrumentalist. She plays some other instruments too, but primarily viola, and I believe a singer as well. And she's based in Toronto, and she's part of a lot of different musical projects. So she writes some contemporary classical music, like the piece you're going to hear. She also plays in the Tova Kardonne Quartet and a lot of other sort of I want to say jazz and fusion ensembles. I think some of her projects are a little hard to pinpoint exactly what style or genre they are. So she's kind of well versed in a lot of different like performance practices and compositional practices. And from interviewing her for my research, because I did a research project in my master's on like working with composers and guitarists working together, specifically composers who are not guitarists, she was saying for this piece, I believe it's kind of shows two very different sides of her output, and it's interesting if you listen to the piece. The first half has a lot of these sort of extended techniques in contemporary that you would normally hear in a sort of very contemporary classical sounding guitar, modern guitar piece. So for example, we have some tambura where you're hitting the strings instead of the traditional way of playing them. There's also some left-handed tapping, which is not that odd. But we also have right-handed tapping, which is extremely rare for classical guitar, more often heard on electric. And they combine. So it's kind of, it's like more like what you would hear an electric guitarist do often. as well as some like Bartok pizzicatos where you grab the string and snap it, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of like the trappings of what you would see in like a very contemporary classical guitar piece. And then midway through the piece, it really just abruptly shifts into this like sort of prog rock jam, I almost want to say, which I love because one of the reasons I got into playing classical music was because I was very into like prog rock and prog metal. And I figured, you know, I should be properly musically trained to play that stuff since it's pretty complex. And then ended up loving classical guitar kind of more. But anyways, so the piece kind of abruptly shifts and shows this totally other side of her writing, which I think is really cool. And the title Negotiation kind of like, to me, signifies like trying to negotiate between sort of two sides of yourself, maybe in that way as a composer. I'm sort of putting words in her mouth, but I think it's kind of the meaning that I take from it. And I think, you know, most artists have to worry about this. Like sometimes I recently started playing electric guitar again because I started getting a bit burnt out playing classical guitar, to be honest, as the pandemic went on towards the end of last year. And it's hard to like figure out how much attention you should give to different sides of your artistic self, because there's only so many hours in the day, right? So it is a negotiation process very often. And before I play it, I'm just gonna check if anyone else has anything to say here. Steve says, love this piece, so glad you're playing it, so groovy and badass. Yeah, it's really fun, Steve. So Steve played this a bunch, and before him, Rob McDonald, I think Rob McDonald premiered it. So Rob and Steve have both played it, and Nathan and Naomi. So I'm in I'm honored to be counted among the line of guitarists who played this piece, Canadian guitarists. And Tova actually wrote a little poem to go with the piece. So I'm going to read the text now, right before I play. And her poem for negotiation says, "One negotiates when one cannot walk away. It's a symptom of being trapped. Gifts and debts refused equally. I needed to find a way back to all the selves I compromised in negotiation." total silence.
Can I clap?
Yes, you can clap.
Oh, yeah, I'm so cute.
Jessica's behind the curtain wondering when it's safe to clap. Daniel saying Mike's playing deserves thousands of dollars, but you can donate any amount. Daniel, I don't know if I go that far, but thanks. Nathan says the piece also has great score indications. Yeah, like this score, like props to Tova. She made this score so understandable, especially for the first time writing for guitar. I think it was part of the Class X project, maybe. So she got to work with the guitarist, I think with Rob, very closely, which probably is why this part of the reason why the score is so good. But she made it so like understandable. Yeah, I could show you on screen, but like it's just really like it was. I learned it. To be honest, I learned it in the last couple of weeks because I was a little burnt out before Christmas and didn't learn it earlier. But yeah, super understandable and nice to learn and read. Steven says an interesting piece to listen to while writing a business email. LOL, great sound. Thanks, man. Yeah, if you want to do your emails or whatever else while you listen, that's totally fine. Ben says that was sick. I really, really, really want to play this. Yes, you should play it, Ben. You can be the fifth, maybe sixth. I don't know. Maybe there are other people who've played it that I don't know about. Steve says correct. Class X. Yes, definitely. Nathan says love the tempo fade out at the end. Thank you. I think I might have faded out a bit more than she indicated. But I loved that she indicated this super long fade out, and I wanted to make sure that that was really clear, you know, in the texture. Oh, right, I should be tuning before I speak. I'm gonna see if anyone said anything in the YouTube chat. Kimberly says, I'm really enjoying the performance and the flowy sound of the last piece. She's 8 years old. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm glad that she loved the flowy sound of the last piece. That's awesome. And hello to Kimberly. I'm glad she's listening. And my dad says, Steve says amazing piece and performance. Well, thank you, Steve. My dad says having a stroopwafel snack from Costco to remember you and Jessica and the kittens in Utrecht. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, my parents are in Spruce Grove, but I'm surprised you can find stroopwafels in Edmonton and Spruce Grove. That's awesome. I guess there's a lot of Dutch immigrants to Canada over the years, so stroopwafels would be possible to obtain, but that's a great snack. I'm gonna have a stroopwafel after this concert. Okay, back to the concert. Just checking if anyone else. Cool piece, Michael. John Armstrong. Hey, John, nice to hear from you. Thanks. Yeah, you must have heard. I guess, John, you were at our concert in Ottawa. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you were there. You must have heard Nathan play it then. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, let's go on to the next piece. Bring back my little program. So, in the very middle, above me, you can see Sergio Assad, Dreams. So this piece doesn't need too much introduction. It's super gorgeous. It's small. Uses an E-flat tuning, 6-string E-flat, which produces some very interesting harmonies. One of my favorite pieces I've ever learned. Just a little gem. I played it for I think now since being in Vancouver when I did my first master's, which was 4 years ago or something crazy like that, 3 or 4 years ago. 4, maybe 5 years ago. Anyways, this piece I've played since then. I don't want to stop playing it. There's some pieces that you just keep in your program for as long as you can because they're beautiful. And this is one of those. Steven says, stroopwafels lekker. Weet je waar ze vandaan komen? Welke plaats? Nee, ik weet niet. Welke plaats, Steven? Welke plaats zijn de stroopwafels van? Sorry, I'm speaking Dutch, Steven. Okay. So I'm going to play my little centerpiece, the centerpiece of the program. How are we doing for time, by the way? 9:45. Oh, okay. 45 minutes in, we're only halfway through. That's not too bad. Oh, and I should say, I guess, this piece is from Sergio Assad's Summer Garden Suite, which is a collection of pieces he wrote for a Japanese film, Natsu no Niwa, which was, I think it was in the 90s that he wrote this. Not certain. And a lot of the pieces are for guitar duo because he plays in a duo with his brother Odair. If you haven't heard of the Assad duo, you should look them up. They're amazing. And I should put my program away. And yeah, the movie's about these 3 young boys who make a friendship with this old recluse who lives in this little house by himself but has this overgrown garden. and the boys start weeding the garden and getting to know this old man. So it's got a lot of sort of sentimental music, but really beautiful. So this piece, Dreams, is from that suite. Oh, John Armstrong says freezing up. Am I freezing for anybody else? My CPU usage is at 15%. I should be okay. If anyone else is hearing me freeze up, let me know. Okay, we're going to get to the Stroopwafel thing after this piece, Steven, okay? Okay. Dreams by Sergio Assad. I was just taking time to tuning the next piece. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Steve says crazy overtones. Yeah, if you pick good fingerings in this piece, you can get some pretty wild overtones in this piece because of all the cool harmonics and the tuning really is what does it. John Armstrong says amazing sound. Thank you, John. That means a lot coming from you. And Big Coffee Stout, good to see you on Twitch. Awesome. Also a great guitar streamer to go check out, Big Coffee Stout on Twitch. Okay, sorry. I promised Steven that I would talk about the stroopwafel thing. Uit Gouda. Okay, stroopwafels come out from Gouda, which is where the name for Gouda cheese comes from, but we North Americans call it Gouda, and actually it should be Gouda because it's Dutch. And ze worden ook wel Goudse stroopwafels genoemd. Oh, so they are called Goudse stroopwafels originally. Okay, interesting, from Gouda. Summer Garden is the amazing soundtrack. Yeah, Frank Scott, nice to see you, Frank. I love the music. Thank you. And this is a great, the whole suite by Sergio is amazing. So, And you can buy it on Strings by Mail, like all the pieces in one book. So it's a great book to read through. Guidona Dugan says, didn't catch the composer's name. It was Sergio Assad was the composer. Steve says, here we go. Oh, you know what I'm tuning to, Steve? Simon Farintosh that says, that piece is Mike's theme song. Yeah, Dreams is my theme song, it's true. It's just, it's me expressing my dreams in musical form. Nathan says, in this concert, all the juicy chords. Yeah, just wait till we get to your sonata, man. There's some juicy chords in there. This stuff, like oh wait, I'm in the wrong tuning to play it. Okay, so I'm going to tune again because this piece requires a lot of tuning, unfortunately. I should tell my tuning joke. So, guitarists spend 90% of the time tuning and 10% of the time playing out of tune. Thank you, Jessica, for the obligatory laugh. I think that might have been a John Williams joke. So, I'm tuning to a pretty weird tuning right now. Let's pull our program back up. So you'll see in the program where we are now is the green text that says Jason Noble Shadow Prism. So this is, again, the part of the palindrome that's the two Canadian pieces. So the first one was the piece Tova wrote, Negotiation, and this one is by Jason Noble, who's a composer from Newfoundland, teaching at McGill right now, I believe. And he wrote this piece for Steve Cowan, who's watching the stream, so I feel very honored. Ben says Team Shadow Prism. Yeah, Ben's also played this piece. Yes, and sorry, I'm back on track. So Shadow Prism was written for Steve Cowan, and it was also the first piece that Jason wrote for guitar, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I could be wrong on that. But early on in his output anyways. And it's also an incredibly well put together score. In fact, I have here some of the score to show you guys. So you can see next to me now the score, so the first page of the score. I'm going to go into full professor mode. Are you ready? So the piece, first of all, the piece's notation. The piece is all harmonics and open strings. So harmonics are these, those kind of things, right? And open strings, obviously. So I don't have to fret any notes. Theoretically, that should mean it's easy, right? But no. So the piece is aleatoric, meaning, I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen, but you see like two lines of the same thing. So these shapes are in two parallel lines. The bottom line is what you would play if you were reading in standard notation, standard tuning, but because the guitar is tuned so weirdly, Jason wrote out what you would play in standard tuning, and then above what notes you actually hear, because the tuning is so different. Because when we change tunings, it becomes very hard to read what notes were where on the guitar. Now, the reason, what I mean by aleatoric, which is a word that classical musicians use, and to mean a piece of music where it's semi-improvised. So you can see in each of those prisms, there's a set of harmonics. And each harmonic is like one note like this. And then you can move within, there's like little arrows in the prisms, and you can move between the harmonics in the direction that the arrows are going. And you can stay in each like prism as long as you want. So it's like, choose your own adventure, but with harmonics and the length of that. And then below at the bottom of the page, you can see that he does at sometimes specify the order of the harmonics, so it becomes a little bit less improvised. But there are things like these repeat signs where you can repeat the cell, each cell as many times as you want. So there's still a bit of freedom. The interesting thing is that a lot of the dynamics and like the speed that you change, the way you change speed and the way you change volume is dictated. So it's like not as free as it might seem, which is actually a good thing because it forces you to work within some constraints, right? Here's another page from the score. You can see more of these kind of like sequences of harmonics that are in a specific order. But you can see they're getting from like slower to faster, that kind of thing. I know it might look like I'm about to summon Lucifer, with all these pentagrams and stuff, but I promise that's not going to happen. And the tuning is interesting. So the tuning in this piece is a transposition of the famous Petrushka chord from Stravinsky's ballet Petrushka. So the original Petrushka chord is like two major triads, so the most consonant, sort of pleasing sounding triad chord we can do in Western harmony. but these two major triads are a tritone apart, which is a very dissonant interval. So it's the same in this tuning, but it's a slightly different chord. So we have A, C sharp, and E, which is a nice A major chord, and then we have E flat, G, and B flat, which is also a major chord. But together, since they're a tritone apart, they sound pretty dissonant and disturbing, almost. And they produce some very interesting harmonics as a result, too. So the tuning is like really the reason that the sound world of this piece is so specific and so interesting. And I think that's what I love about it, too, is that Jason uses all these like very extended techniques and like the aleatoric notation and everything with this really weird tuning to create this really unique sound world that's very consistent, actually. So it doesn't sound chaotic in the sense that it's random. It sounds very intentional to me, and also very much like this sort of special alternate reality. It almost feels like you've gone into another plane of existence or something. So, you know, I really appreciate when a composer does that, when they really develop their own sound world in this really unique way. So I hope you enjoy Shadow Prism by Jason Noble. And I'm going to tune again because, you know, now the strings are settled. Okay. And because guitars are never really in tune, I tune to the harmonics to make sure that the harmonics are the most in tune thing, since that's what I'm using in this piece. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. My biggest fan is behind the curtain. Big Coffee Stout says, oh my god, pure coincidence that I'm opening a WhatsApp message from my student right now, and he sent me a YouTube link to someone playing Bach with audio and video done by Michael Ibsen. Oh, that must be the video of Allan. Is it Allan Amir playing Bach? Yeah, Allan is incredible player. Yeah, and that video was a lot of fun to make. Allan made this like ridiculous transcription of one of the well-tempered clavier preludes and fugues for keyboard. Truly insane. Like, I don't know if anyone else in the world aside from Allan could play that transcription. So if you want to have your mind blown, look up Allan Amir on EILON, Allan, A-E-Lon, Amir, A-M-I-R on YouTube. Coffee Stout says, I love this. Thank you very much. And okay, there's like a whole discussion about stroopwafels, which I am not going to get into here. Jesus, so many stroopwafel comments. Okay, it's about Shadow Prism. Okay, Steve says, we'll start a sport where you can kick a ball in any direction you want for as long as you want, and nobody is microtonal best friends. Yeah, exactly. Jason, you're in the chat. Jason Noble's here. Thanks, man. Thanks for watching. Shadow Prism is amazing, says Nikos. Yeah, Nikos is, like I said before, Nikos was my roommate in Utrecht when I first arrived here in the Netherlands, and he listened to me learning this piece every night for like 6 months. So Nikos, you're a saint for putting up with me playing these weird prisms of harmonics every night at like 1 a.m, because that's when I would learn this piece, because I don't know, this piece fits after midnight, you know. Okay. Great background music for when you buy your new guitar strings online. Thanks, David. Okay. Jason. Oh, Jason, this is a beautiful performance. Thanks so much, Michael. Well, thank you for writing such an amazing piece. It's an incredible piece. Steven says, Allan is a fantastic musician, also a wonderful person. Yes, Allan is an awesome person. And a guitarist. Sorry, I've been neglecting the YouTube chat, which I feel bad about. So let me check what's going on there. Oh my god, so many comments. My dad said that there's lots of Dutch dairy farmers around Edmonton. They come over, I think, after World War II. There's a direct KLM flight from Edmonton to Amsterdam. Yeah, that's true. There are a ton of there's a lot of like Dutch names in like Saskatchewan and Alberta, you know, like central Canada, central western Canada. Buckminster Fluster, you are so kind. Professor Ibsen sounds alright. I'm not a real professor, not yet. Anyways, I'm not even getting the doctorate. I'm so underqualified. I have 2 masters, so I guess that means something. Anyhow, okay. Instead of talking about my degrees, let's go to some more music. Okay, I'm gonna tune because that's and drink water. Thank you, Jessica. My better half reminding me to stay hydrated. It's important. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for this, I have to tune the 3rd string from G down to F sharp, and all the ones that I tuned down for that last piece up to standard, and then the 6th string down to D. So my guitar is gonna love all these changes. I can like talk out loud to myself because there's no one in the audience. It's not weird. Maybe I should do this in real concerts. Why not? Shake up the format a little bit, you know? Okay. I'm gonna have to tune again, but I'm now going to play a sonata by Domenico Scarlatti. If you're a guitarist, you've probably done this before too. Many guitarists have. He was a keyboard player, composed a lot of harpsichord music, which is most of these sonatas were originally conceived on the harpsichord. Well, actually all of them. Nathan says it goes by magnitudes of 10, so 10 master's degrees equals 1 DMA. Sure, okay, only 8 more. Naoko, hey Naoko, she says, I can't stop staring at your earrings. Thank you, that's the point. Okay, so I'm going to play a Scarlatti Sonata, which you would think wouldn't fit in my concept of pieces outside of the normal canon, but this Scarlatti Sonata, to my knowledge, hasn't really been at least recorded for solo guitar. So it was, there's 550 of them. It's not that hard to find ones that people haven't done, but this is one that I don't think many people have done. I think there's a video on YouTube of somebody playing the first half, because it has like this sort of slower A and B section, and then it has a minuet, which is where my hands start to freak out. But so I think there's like a half recording on YouTube of it, but I haven't really heard many people do it. And I started working on this transcription. I don't know, probably a lot of you who are guitarists are like this, where you start to transcribe a piece and then sometimes you never finish it, and then it sits in your computer, and then like you come back to it years later. So I started it in Vancouver because I was playing in a duo with Joel Thompson, who's a great, excellent guitarist in Vancouver. And we used to have a duo together. He's like half my height, so it was always great being on stage together. And we were also like amazingly good friends. And we happened to live like a block away from each other, which wasn't planned at all when I moved there. I just got an apartment right near him, and then we started school together. It was really funny coincidence. But we both found this sonata because we were both on this like big, is it Scott Ross, the harpsichord player who has all these Scarlatti recordings? I think so. We were on this big kick of listening to Scarlatti, and both of us were just like obsessed with Scarlatti at that time. And we found this sonata, which we both loved, and we both started working on it at the same time, like started transcribing it from the keyboard version. So we had this like PDF or this finale file we were sending back and forth. And so it was kind of at first like a shared project. And then when I came to Utrecht, we sort of, neither of us ended up really playing it a ton. And then I came to Utrecht and I studied with Carlo in Maastricht, and Carlo is like amazing at transcribing Baroque music. So I brought this, half-finished transcription to him, and he helped me finish it up, which is excellent. So, a lot of the final ideas in terms of like the tuning and some of the voicings and stuff and fingerings were Carlo's ideas. But yeah, I'm just gonna try. It's okay. Oh, they're talking about DMAs. Okay, you guys have fun with that conversation. Okay. Sorry. Not gonna get involved. Okay, I'm gonna tune one more time and then play the Scarlatti. If my guitar will ever stay in tune, which is a big contingency. Settle a little bit. Okay. Scarlatti Sonata K77. You.
Okay.
Just I was waiting until Mike has been slaying this. Oh, thanks, Dan. I was expecting this sonata to be cringe and dinky, but K77 is definitely not those things, and you're making it sound lovely. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it.
Best for napping.
Yes, best for napping. Buckminster Fluffster says, stupid question, would two or more guitars for certain scordatures make sense in a concert setting? That is not a stupid question. There are no stupid questions, Buckminster Fluffster. Would two or more guitars for certain scordatures make sense in a concert setting? Yeah, oh, I see what you mean. Not two players, but having two guitars around. Yes, definitely. In fact, that is something I've thought about doing with Shadow Prism. I just practice on this guitar so much, and I just love this guitar so much. But yeah, some people do that. Steve Cowan did that for his concert in Montreal, for the Montreal Festival, right, Steve? If you're still in the chat, you had two guitars on stage, and one of them was just for Shadow Prism, so you had it tuned up for that. That was smart. Yeah, so that definitely is something that can be used to circumnavigate the tuning problem, which I'm about to experience again. Okay, so let's bring back our handy program and talk about the final piece on the program, bottom right here. So, Steven says, yes, you have a spruce guitar to use live too. Yeah, I know, Steven, you're obsessed with spruce guitars. I get it. You're correct. I have another spruce guitar. Okay, so I'm gonna play this sonata by Nathan Bredeson. Now, Nathan Bredeson, he's the one right there. Yeah, right there. He's a very good friend of mine, a very amazing composer, amazing guitarist. Both things. I don't know how he manages to do both things, to be honest, but he does both things like better than most people I know, which is the amazing part. And so Nathan and I are close friends. Like I mentioned before, we're in a duo together, the Made in Canada duo. You can find some videos of us on YouTube and stuff. And we met at some festivals, but we've never actually lived in the same city. But as happens with, colleagues, international colleagues in the guitar world, you get to know each other pretty well online and at the festivals that you happen to be at together. And so our friendship has been going on for a long time, and we formed the duo to work on playing new Canadian music. And actually one of the first times we collaborated was when Nathan came to Vancouver, and I organized a little concert that we did together along with Joel, who I mentioned, who was helping me transcribe this Scarlatti sonata in the beginning. And so Nathan came for this concert, and then after the concert we were staying up having some like delicious IPAs and other craft beers from Vancouver, because the West Coast has great craft beer. And we were listening to a bunch of Shostakovich string quartets. Nathan says, get ready for the emotional pain. Definitely. It's not just emotional for me with my hands, Nathan, in this piece, I have to say. But anyways, so we were staying up after the concert listening to these Shostakovich string quartets and having a great time. And we just discovered we had this shared love for Shostakovich's music. And I asked Nathan if he would write me a piece, either quoting or in homage to Shostakovich. And he very graciously agreed and wrote this amazing sonata that I'm about to play. So the thing is, in the program, you can see at the beginning, like I said, it's a palindrome. And at the beginning, I had the Hoppstock Debussy variations, which, like I said, kind of filled a gap in the repertoire. There's not a lot of music. There's no music by Debussy, and there's not a lot of music from that period in time and place. And it's the same with Shostakovich. He never wrote for the guitar, except for, I think there's like a guitar part in one of his operas, but it's like this really dinky, like little chord strumming thing. It's not like a real guitar piece. And there's not a lot of like guitar music from that period, from like sort of like, I know Shostakovich isn't really neoclassical, but that kind of neoclassical period, mid-20th century Russia. But I love that music. I love Shostakovich, I love Prokofiev, all that sort of style and genre, and Shostakovich in particular. So it's kind of a gap in the repertoire, which is why I wanted Nathan to write this piece. And he was stoked on the idea because he likes to take ideas from other composers and sort of figure out how he can work them into his own voice and pay homage to them that way, you know. So he wrote this, super amazing sonata. It's 3 movements. I have some notes here I want to address. So, one of the things about Shostakovich's music that we both love is, like Nathan said, the emotional pain. Shostakovich puts a lot of pathos into his music. It's very audible and noticeable, but it's never to me, it's never overdone or cheesy. And to be fair, I mean, he had some pretty crazy circumstances to live through. I mean, he lived under Stalin's rule. His music was scrutinized. He was, at some points sort of threatened by the regime that if he didn't write certain things a certain way, especially things that were supposed to glorify Stalin, he would come to a very messy end, essentially. So, and he had friends who basically disappeared because the KGB took them and, disappeared them. So he lived under an incredible amount of stress in that time. And I know there's some debate about whether he was really a Soviet composer or not, whether he was really pro the Soviet Union, etc. I mean, he also lived through the Nazis invading the USSR, so there's probably a complicated relationship for him between the Soviet state, Stalinist regime, and his own patriotic feelings or lack thereof. But it's safe to say that he lived under a lot of duress and pressure from the regime that was, so totalitarian. And I kind of liked this idea of the piece borrowing from his music, which is more, kind of personally impactful. And in particular, the string quartets, actually, some of them, a lot of the symphonies were very publicly scrutinized. And there's a lot of arguments made that he used the symphonies to kind of subvert the regime, but at the same time, he could only do so much in those pieces because they were so publicly heard in premieres and stuff. He was one of the foremost composers at that time in that place. So, he couldn't sort of be too overt with any sort of protest in the music there. But the string quartets were not as widely heard, and they have a lot more, scholars seem to say that they have a lot more sort of his personal maybe experiences and feelings put into them. And the 8th quartet in particular is one of my favorite, and is very aggressive, very depressing, but very exciting music. And one of the themes that Nathan used, which Shostakovich also uses throughout his music, is kind of autograph. So in German, if you take the words D, E flat, C, and B and render them in German notation, it's D, S, C, H, Dmitri Shostakovich. So it's his personal signature, so it sounds like this. And it's kind of a very, melancholy sounding motif, which sort of fits apparently the reports of what he was like as a person. So in this sonata, you'll hear this all over the place, sometimes very slow at the beginning of the second movement, and sometimes buried in some more textures, so you heard it under all that other activity. And in the 8th quartet, he uses it in this way where he does the first note twice, da-da-dee-da-dum, and Nathan uses that in the first movement of the sonata very effectively, so that kind of thing, da-da-dee-da-dum, which is like a direct sort of pulling from the texture of the 8th quartet. And Nathan quoted a lot of other Shostakovich pieces throughout the sonata really effectively. And I have to say also, it's not like he's just ripping him off. The piece also shows a lot of Nathan's style of writing, and it's very unique and creative and super, super cool. So the form is 3 movements. It's a long haul. 3 movements. The first one is called Neurotica, which is a very descriptive title. If you think of someone who has a huge amount of neuroses, apparently Shostakovich's family and friends said that he was a very neurotic person, very nervous and a little bit on edge all the time. It's basically smoked constantly too. So this movement Neurotica has all these really cool indications in the score, which I appreciate Nathan putting in. It's stuff like, anxious or brooding, or these sort of pieces of text that tell you what mood he wants in that part of the movement. The second movement is an elegy. It's a very beautiful, sort of intimate, more personal movement. And there's a really cool quotation in this, which is from the second Shostakovich piano concerto, second movement. So the original melody is this. that's when the piano comes in the piano concerto. And Shostakovich actually wrote this piano concerto for his son, who is a very good pianist and was studying at the Conservatory. And for his son's graduation exam, he wrote him a piano concerto to be performed with orchestra, piano orchestra. So it's a very sort of beautiful, personal gift, you know, and so it's one of Shostakovich's most beautiful melodies. And Nathan uses it in this sort of tremolo texture. Which is really gorgeous. So, you know, I really love that quotation because I told Nathan in particular I loved that concerto. And then the last movement is a scherzo. It's a very fast, playful movement. And I think it shows kind of Shostakovich's, like, a lot of his music has this kind of grotesque, like, dance, like, these grotesque dance-like sections, which are sort of, I don't know, macabre and sort of playful while also being very, dark and brooding and almost profane sounding. So the scherzo is kind of in that style. And one thing that Nathan does that I really liked about this is that in the scherzo he brings back all of the themes that he used throughout the whole sonata leading up to that in different ways, little nods to earlier parts. And I believe he told me he took this from the album Parallax 2, is it Future Sequence? Yeah, Parallax 2 Future Sequence by Between the Buried and Me, which is one of my favorite prog metal bands, and also one of Nathan really loves this band as well and likes the CD. And I think we were both listening to the CD a lot at the same time. And in the CD they do that. They introduce all these different motifs throughout the album, and then in the final track they like bring all these motifs back in this like really spastic song. And Nathan really liked that. Hey, saying tell them about the BT Bam tie-in. Exactly. So if you like prog metal, you should listen to Between the Buried and Me, Parallax 2. Parallax 1 is really good too, but Parallax 2 is a masterpiece album, and Nathan took that idea from this album, which I thought was super cool. So the piece, like, there's, the track is called Silent Flight Parliament, if you want to find that track by BT Bam, Between the Buried and Me. And there's so many things about this piece that when it was being formed, you know, Nathan was like really crafting it to what not just I wanted, but also he wanted what we had in common, and that was really special. I've had it for a while, but in our tour I didn't play all three movements. It's honestly, this piece has challenged me more than I think any piece I've ever played, which I'm not complaining because it's a good thing, but it's definitely been, you know, a journey to improve, and it still needs to improve more, but I want to share it with you all. And just keep an eye out because we're going to be releasing the score soon. We're doing the final edits on, like, you know, fingerings and edits and things that need to be cleaned up in the score. And I don't know, I think we'll live stream, right, Nathan, a little bit in the next few months. We're going to do some live streams showing the score and, like, you know, showing what we're doing in the editing process, and then he's going to put it out for sale sometime in the spring, hopefully. So, and I'll make a proper recording and everything. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested in playing the piece. So I hope you enjoy Nathan Bredeson's first sonata. It's a real monster of a sonata for the first one, in homage to Dmitri Shostakovich. And I want to say another thank you to Dan for organizing this and having me on. It's been a real pleasure. And to all of you for listening. So I hope you enjoy Nathan's sonata. Steven says, that's all wonderful. Can you play Wonderwall? Okay, on that note. Hey, thanks guys. Made it to the end. Da 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 da. Yes, exactly. Nice. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for being here. This has been a lot of fun. It's been really nice to like stream and feel like everybody's here with me, even though I'm just in my room here. Thank you again so much to Daniel. Oh, please don't check out quite yet because Daniel's going to have a little post-concert chat with me. So please stick around for that if you want to. And bring like all the questions and comments and things you have. Daniel and I will be here to answer your questions and everything. Yeah, sorry I didn't mention the post-concert chat earlier. So we're just going to stay on the same stream. I'm just going to switch over to the post-concert chat thing. But first I'm just going to address some of the comments and stuff so I don't miss out anything. There's a whole bunch of stuff about the amazing piece Nathan wrote. You're reading the emotional pain. Yeah, exactly. This looks sadistically difficult. Yes, Simon, the sonata is sadistically difficult. E flat minor is a real key. Exactly. Nice. Wow. Thanks, Ross. Yeah, Ross is in the chat. Who built my guitar? And I think this would make a fantastic guitar quartet piece. More playable. Thanks, Emily. Exactly. Thank you, Frank. Says great concert. What an epic ending to an epic concert. Cranston shouted it down for organizing this. Another great concerts for the end of time. Exactly. Thank you, Damiano Fineschi. A great concert. Thanks, Damiano. Great piece. Nice job, guys. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, it's an awesome piece. Okay, nice. And I'm just going to look through the Twitch chat to make sure I didn't miss anyone there. This is great, Nathan. I don't think I've heard this movement. Yeah, this movement wasn't played on the tour, but now you've heard the complete sonata. Okay, I'm going to join... Look at YouTube. I'm being told to look at the YouTube comments. YouTube says, that was amazing. Love, love, love that whole concert. Well done, my love. Thank you, Jessica. Wow, that was great. Michael Ibsen, talent, charm, and always delightful. Thank you, Buckminster Fluffster. You're going to have to find out who this was. You made the first curfew of my life so special from Pietro. Thanks. We have a curfew in the Netherlands now, so we can't go out after 8. Thanks, man. You are graceful. Thank you, Pietro. You are wonderful. I love having you as a student and as a friend. This is awesome. Okay, I'm going to quickly join a Zoom call with Daniel, and then we can do our post-concert chat. So let me, excuse me, everybody, while I just switch over to Zoom with Dan. Here we go. Join Zoom meeting. If you guys have questions, I would put them in the chat now. Good. Let me just. Good. One moment. Can you hear me? Can you hear me in the Zoom? Can you hear me in the Zoom call? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I gotta switch over. Okay, we've got Zoom here. Daniel, you're on screen now.
All right.
Everybody can hear you now.
Can see you, everybody.
Can you hear me on Zoom?
I can hear you on Zoom. That's right.
Okay, good. And I need to. Sorry, let's just switch off my camera here. And then
My
I have
computer
to add
is
my camera
freezing
on
up.
Zoom. Oh, I'm just gonna plug in my webcam, guys. Sorry, one moment. Daniel, why don't you riff for a moment while I...
Hey everybody, how's it going? So we're back. It's great. That was a great concert. It's really, really very... there's so much new stuff happening. My computer is just freezing up a little bit, so I'm just making sure that everyone can see me on the preview here. Gonna put that turbo mode. So I can...
Oh.
There's
Oh.
Mike.
That's the side of my piece. Hello. There we go.
Hello, there he is.
The webcam. Oh.
There
Okay.
he is.
Okay. Let me
That's
get in
good
my
to see.
chair.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So we're on a moment.
Should be able to hear and see me now. Nice. Is that working,
Right.
everybody?
Yes. Looking great.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna put the Facebook chat on the iPad here so I can
right.
see it. Yeah.
And I'm
Thank
just
you.
closing this screen so I can just monitor the chat as well.
Okay, cool.
So if anybody has any questions, they can just drop them in. But how do you feel, Mike? That was excellent.
Thank you. Thanks. I feel pretty good. I think, I mean, you know, performing, there's always stuff that you wish went slightly better or whatever, but I'm happy. Like, I got to play a lot of super cool music by great composers, some of it which hasn't really been heard before by a lot of people, and I got to do it for a lot of my friends and family and strangers on the internet, so, I mean, I can't really complain, you know?
Yeah, it's really great. So the first thing I usually ask people is just like, what is the difference between doing a concert like this and a regular concert, you know, in the before time? How do you feel? What are some different things about the experience in this?
Before the
How would
plague.
you compare them?
Yeah, I mean, like, I haven't done this before, surprisingly. Like, you know, I have my Messy Desk series that I run.
Yeah, Messy Desk is an awesome series, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, you should go to youtube.com and look at Mike's YouTube profile. He has interviews with artists. Like, it's multiple times a week, right?
Yeah, it used to be. Now I'm, like, a little more relaxed with it. I'm doing it a little less frequently.
Right.
Just because I'm getting onto some other projects and stuff. But I'm not stopping it at all. It just was more at the start of the pandemic. But, like, you know, that's not, like, I haven't performed on the Messy Desk. And other people have performed, but it's not the same as this because it's not a concert experience, you know?
Right.
It's like an interview and then people play a little bit. I mean, you've been on it, which was super fun.
Oh, yeah, I was the second person. Nate was the first, actually.
You were the trailblazer along with me.
So, yeah, I was in it right in the beginning.
Yeah, but to get back to your question, like, I think live streaming is interesting. From what I can say from tonight, I tried to treat it as a totally different thing, which I know is a piece of advice you gave me, which was really helpful.
Yeah. To not see it as a dollar store version of a concert.
Yeah, and
see it as like something new. Right?
Yeah, something different. So I'm trying to do it that way, and I think, like, you know, I'm trying to have this attitude not just in live streaming though, where, like, I want the things I present as a professional artist now to be authentic in the sense that I'm not necessarily going by convention just for convention's sake. So I really like that about tonight, that I had a little more leeway to, like, talk in between with people and to, you know, make jokes. And it sounds kind of ridiculous, but just be, like, more entertaining in a way.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know? And I think maybe that's something I'll take back to normal concerts when I'm allowed to play them again.
Yeah. There's something very different about the level of informality you can have with the audience.
Yeah.
Raphael Wainwright Brown put it really nicely. He said, it's kind of like the audience is on stage with you.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good way of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's because you can have a conversation with people, you know. They don't have to wait till the end and when they're all awkward and they have to, like, go back while everyone's trying to get a hold of you. They can say something and you know, once you finish the piece, they'll answer. It's kind of special.
And maybe it's bad because I can be a little bit verbose, but, like, I kind of like that I know people are, like, doing their own thing and going about their day, so I can, like, just spend as much time as I want talking.
Right. Yeah, there is an element, like, you know, people are doing things. Well,
yeah.
And it is a little weird because, you know, how do you feel that's different? I mean, there is, like, a sort of hallowed ground feeling when you go to a concert hall. And that definitely probably it's hard to get that in a live stream.
Yeah, and in a sense that made it almost easier to perform in some ways.
Right.
And not to, you know, feel worried. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep an eye on the chat here. Oh no, I put it away. But yeah, like I think, like, the hallowed ground, you're just never, I don't think you're ever going to have that with an online concert the same way. So if it's not going to be the same, why not just embrace the way it's different, you know? I mean, that's sort of the thing about the pandemic. Like with online teaching, you know, I've been trying to as I have to teach online, I've been trying to use the benefits of that, meaning like more notation on scores, more personalized, feedback for students in terms of recordings and what I write on the PDFs. And, it's really cool that they have a Dropbox folder where they can view week by week. I put the date on every score I give them, and it shows, what we worked on that week in the score. And so, like, in that way, that's kind of like something that you wouldn't go in detail on in a in-person lesson. So I guess, like, there's no denying that the situation is brutal, but I'm just trying to, like, see how these different mediums and these different way of doing things can be viewed as, like, not a benefit, but just as, like, how can we take advantage of the unique things about this situation. So I appreciate that about
benefits? Are there any real benefits? I feel there are some real benefits. Do you feel there are real benefits, or it will just never really quite measure up in your eyes?
To the pandemic? You can
be honest. Yeah. To
the pandemic? I mean, it's a net negative, I would say. As sort of an understatement.
Okay, so this is the second, people who watch this channel, they kind of know that that's the second question I usually ask people. So
yeah,
it's like, I'll say interesting things about you too, but I'll ask more interesting questions eventually. But that's kind of something I've noticed. There seems to be a universal thing that I have noticed in people's reaction to the pandemic, in the sense that in some way or another, for better or for worse, it's made them more aware of the things that they really value in life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, we're, as a species, sort of hardwired. Evolution has hardwired us to be, like, make the best of any situation, try to keep surviving, right? And I think we do that mentally and emotionally more than we realize, where, like, if something really terrible happens, we find ways to either rationalize it, or if we can't rationalize it, we find ways to, like, look for the beauty in it, And that's kind of a beautiful thing about our species, even though it's a bit brutal. And there are, of course,
we're hardy virus.
Yeah, exactly. Hardy virus.
We're insanely adaptable.
Yes, indeed. But, like, I mean, obviously there are situations where people. I don't think
humanity is a virus, for the record.
Well, depends how you define virus, I guess. I guess, there are situations, of course, where, like, we can't. People lose hope, and that's very sad. But I think we're very resilient as far as, like, what we have to go through in the universe we live in, So, I guess looking at the positive side of playing online and teaching online is part of that. I wanted to say that Steve says, incredible program presentation, thank you. And Guidona Dugan says, love the informality and the insights regarding the music and the composers. Yeah, you should keep watching the channel, because that's kind of the way Daniel's trying to set it up. That's
really what we're trying to do, just trying to bring this, for better for worse, I could get some flack for saying this, but this project is kind of like a Marxist project. This project is part of the idea.
You never told me I was signing up for Marxism, Daniel.
I know. More like Bernie Sanders, closer to that. But, the idea is that, I personally believe that people are putting a lot of labor into music.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting a ton of labor into music, and they're not getting remunerated for it. But if we make everyone pay the same amount, then not everyone can afford to go, and so when it gets hyper stratified, and then you see people can't go to the concerts because they can't afford it, or they can't, they have more. There are different things. So I want it to be accessible to all, and I want the performer to get paid for what they do. So I thought, what if we called it this, and we created this project where the artists just get paid for their work properly, And it's kind of like a small way going against a much bigger tide. I probably won't win. But it's in a small way delaying the inevitable of artists being completely swept away.
So hopeful.
In terms of their labor being devalued to nothing. Music is almost free now. People don't appreciate how much work goes into what you do, right? What we do.
Yeah, so, it's incredibly hard.
Part of that.
Yeah, it's incredibly hard to monetize music, especially recorded music. I have the feeling that performing in person and teaching are still quite straightforward to monetize in a lot of ways. I know they're not easy to do well in, but you know, but like selling a recording, especially with the technology, and I'm in kind of two minds about this. I have a hard time between my more like libertarian, neoliberal, you could even say, tendencies, and my more Marxist tendencies. There's like this battle to see like
those are exact opposites.
I know, but I have a hard time deciding like, are things getting worse for creative types, or are they better than they've ever been? Because, you know, there's the argument that like the fact that you can be a freelance musician in most cities in the developed world and make a living was not like a thing until fairly recently, and people didn't have like the leisure time and money to spend on art as easily.
It's true.
Like the need for a patron is lower than it used to be, you know? But that doesn't mean
true. And you know, sometimes I miss the monarchy for that.
Yeah. But the problem is you had to be.
You go to Europe, you're like, wow, how will we ever have this?
Yeah. The problem is you had to be in with the monarchy, right? Like now you don't have to be in with the monarchy to be able to make a living as an artist, but it is incredibly hard. And technology, like the problem is, and this is where I think the sort of Marxist critique is a lot of weight, is that technology and the market have created this situation where like everything is accessible and everything is instantaneous. And what that means when you create a product is that like you're competing with that. So like Spotify's evil, right? We all know that. Please don't remove my tracks from Spotify overlords. But I put my tracks on Spotify because
our voices are literally meaningless.
I know, but I put my music on Spotify because I'm like, well, people like that's the market that I'm competing in now. So. And I have and I think what you're doing is one of the only models that kind of works for selling music now is like.
Well, yeah, it's like I just need to take my filthy hands out of the situation, and then it's fine. Yeah. But it's really interesting. Like, you know, it obviously it benefits me in other ways. I mean, that people like know who I am and things like that. But that's not why I'm doing it. The real point is like you know, in the old days. You know, in like our grandparents' time, and in our even some of our parents' time, you know, volunteering was like a core cultural part of North American, at least, society.
Yeah.
And that was like something that everyone kind of did, and we still have that kind of left over. Like in Ontario, we have like community service hours we have to do to graduate. Like we have to like put some time into the community and not get paid for it. Like. The idea of that like has some kind of real currency, you know, and you know, I realize like as a musician, like I've been so self-absorbed, partly for survival reasons, that I never really like did that. So I felt like, you know, what if we had a project where it actually, you know, I just like took that hit and it was okay, like, and then like I don't know, just made the world a little better, like a tiny bit shinier, like. Just like a little bit, you know.
Well, I think it's definitely doing that.
That's all we can do, you know.
I mean, I think, like, your model of, like, putting things out for free and then asking people who really value it to contribute
sometimes
to it monetarily. That's
badgering.
Badgering. That, you know, that's one of the models that's sort of working at the moment, I think, for a lot of people. Then again, like this is the reason this is the first live stream concert is because I kind of have been trying to avoid just live streaming for free like a lot of people did at the beginning of the pandemic because I sort of felt like it was kind of devaluing a little bit of what I did, you know.
I see.
But this kind of thing I thought was different because I knew you'd built a following. You have people who watch, who are enthusiastic, who want to contribute to the artist, all that. So it's kind of a totally different situation because it's someone who's actually put the work in to build this platform and this community, right? And that's worth something. So, you know, it's a tricky line. I mean, it's sort of one of those things where, like, you know, we can criticize each other all day about who makes what business practice choices and are they devaluing their work and other people's work and stuff. And it's just hard to say. It's also hard because people at different stages in their development and career will do different amounts of things for free or for less or for more or whatever. So it's it's tricky. I don't know if there's an easy answer to all this.
Yeah, it's definitely not linear anymore. I mean, like, working for the hour is not like a reality anymore. I think it is for some people, but it's not going to last for very long.
No, and I say this all the time. I think people who want to be musicians have to make their peace with being freelance entrepreneurs at a very young age, or at a very the very beginning. You just can't go into this field and not expect that, and not be willing to be a business person to some extent, freelance. Because even people who have positions at universities and stuff, they're still doing the hustle on the side, because most of the positions don't pay a living wage. So
that's me.
Yeah. And I mean, it's awesome.
Looking at you, Laurier.
No. I mean, I know that those programs, like, especially if they have a small number of students, it's a thing. Frank Scott says, very altruist motives. Your work is worth being able to make a living. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I think that our work is worth it. Again, it's just trying to strike that balance between, like, I hate to sound like an annoying enlightened centrist or something, but, like, it's trying to strike a balance between, like, playing within the market as it is and having a hard stance on what you're worth. It's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah, but I actually don't think neoliberals and Marxists disagree on that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think I actually think that's one of their rare common points. It's like, the idea is like, well, I think neoliberals are like, they're more quick to say that things don't matter.
Yeah.
But I think that, the idea is like, your labor is worth it. You should be compensated for your work.
Yeah. It's also funny because neoliberals sometimes, like, and my tendency within that is to be like, look at all the data of how things have improved for so long for everybody, which is like mostly true if you actually look at the data, but especially in the developing world, and how much of the world is developing and how quickly. But then they also forget that, like, a lot of that development, especially in places like Europe, happened because of Marxist critique. So it's like, and not just like
holiday work hours and the weekend, just crazy ideas.
And I don't just mean like hardline Marxist like USSR type thing, but like, not to get into a super long political rant, but I'm just talking about, like, sort of leftist socialist critique that tried to, like, curb the excesses of, like, the market that was, like, screwing people, right? So it's just interesting because sometimes people point at data which actually supports the opposite point of view that they subscribe to, which is funny.
Yeah, but it's I think it really goes beyond ideology, these kinds of concepts. I think we all kind of, I've been trying to, like, keep track, maybe I'm talking too much, but I feel like I'm trying to keep track of the times when I do something and I say, I didn't feel good about that, like, because sometimes it's a very subtle voice, like, I've trained it out almost, and, like, I gotta listen, like, was that the right thing to do? And I try to think, like, I don't know. And I feel that a lot of times, like, we know, like, what's best for society. Like, I don't know, but we don't always feel empowered to do anything about it. I mean, and again, like, we have to stress that, like, one person is not capable of achieving very much. Like, you have to do, it's not like the movies where one superhero comes in and beats up everybody. And, like, it's not really like that. Yeah, it takes a village, And so, but, the very least you can do is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have our part to play, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about part to play. I don't mean that in, like, there's a destiny for everyone, because I don't believe in that, but just...
You don't believe in... You're very hard... I'm sorry. Don't... you told me I could talk about anything. Except for very few things.
Whatever. So, no. There's no off-limits topics. That was a joke, Daniel. That was a joke.
Okay, I won't talk about it. Okay. But you do have a very, let's call it a materialist...
Yeah.
In the good way...
Materialist in the ideological sense of, I think the material reality is the only one we know can exist. We can know that exists, and people think when I say that I mean that, like, I'm totally closed off to the idea of any other thing that we haven't yet understood, which is not my point. My problem with the idea of the supernatural is not so much the idea of unexplained phenomenon that are mysterious to us, because I'm sure that exists because I've experienced it and so has everybody else. What I object to is the idea that necessarily means it's supernatural, meaning outside the natural. Because so far, everything we've discovered has eventually been understood so far. That stuff that seemed mysterious and supernatural to us has become materially explained. And I'm not saying that we're going to explain everything. I'm just saying that like we can't assume that things like I don't see the point in creating a separate category for supernatural things because why do we need to invent a category when there's no evidence that there is this category? Why not just say that's an unexplained phenomenon? Later on, we'll find out what it is. Maybe we won't. You know. So,
but of course, I think the natural conclusion of that though is that there really are some things that are beyond, like that will always like by nature be impossible to explain. They'll always be in the realm of philosophy.
My issue is that we don't know.
Is God real? These kinds of questions.
But my issue is that we don't know that those things are unexplainable yet. That's actually intellectually dishonest.
That's a really radical viewpoint, actually.
I don't think it is. I mean, I just think it's intellectually honest to say we don't have an explanation for X question, and we don't know if we ever can or cannot have an explanation, which people don't like. They want to either be like, yes, we will explain it one day, but so far it isn't explained, which I'm like, how can you know that we're going to be able to explain it? Or they want to say, like, no, it's totally unexplainable, mysterious. And usually beyond that, they take another step to insert their favorite explanation for it, you know, which is where the really problematic thing is.
Yeah, I think that's where we get brash, right? That's where we start to go, like, okay, I know the truth, and so on.
Yeah, or I'm uncomfortable with not knowing, so Yes, God of the Gaps, B of Asaurus on Twitch says God of the Gaps, exactly. And that those gaps keep, and it's not just God, it's other things too, like anything where you're inserting an explanation because you're uncomfortable with not knowing. It's very tempting. You know, as a species, we've also evolved to do that. Oh, my cats are fighting. Guys, stop. Sorry, my cat.
Do you have more than one cat?
We have 2 cats, yes.
What are their names?
Loki and Nehru.
I've heard that you get more views when you have cats on the screen, so
yeah,
can you get them?
It definitely helps. Loki. Come on, Loki. Okay, he's not coming. Our cats are named Loki and Nehru. Loki obviously being the Norse
god of trickery.
Yes.
In
which
Norse mythology
takes after his name. And Nehru is a goddess from The Legend of Zelda.
Is it? Oh no, I'm thinking Navi.
No, because there's 3 goddesses of like 3 different elements in Zelda, and Nehru is one of them.
Right.
And so it's because we liked Loki, and then we were like, well, we should name her after a goddess. And then I also, my favorite joke about cats and dogs is, you have the dog, you take care of the dog, you feed the dog, you take the dog for walks, you clean up its crap.
Poop.
And it thinks you're God. When you have a cat, you take care of the cat, you pet the cat, you feed the cat, you clean up its poop, and it thinks it's God.
Yeah, that's...
So.
Yeah, it's just like they don't have like the same. They're solitary predators, And dogs are like pack animals. So.
But I have to say, Loki acts more like a dog. He's like extremely cuddly and extremely codependent.
Interesting.
He's very like emotionally unstable if he doesn't get attention, which is like a little alarming in a cat. Because usually cats are very much like, I don't need you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Anyways, my cats. Loki, are you gonna come say hi? No, I don't think he's coming.
Stephen Dentoom has a interesting comment based on what we were saying earlier. He says, artists never had so many opportunities to showcase their work. Underpayment for art is always an issue, but there are ways to make a living for the long term.
Yeah, mainly be good collabs and doing various projects at the same time. The more things you try, the more chance you have of becoming successful. Yeah, I mean, I think that he's right in the sense, and Steven is an incredibly... we actually are working on a lot of different projects together, which is fun, and he's a very... what's the word? Entrepreneurial person? Like, he just tries so many things and is so positive and a joy, and as a result, he's a joy to work with. Which I think is really true. Like, I don't really buy this, like, whatever energy you put out, you manifest. But it is kind of true in the sense that if you are a joy to work with, you're going to go a lot further, a lot faster in this world.
Yeah, you get more bees with honey.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think he's true, and he's right to a certain extent, for sure. I mean, but yeah, the underpayment is an issue. And unfortunately, we also need a society where, like, when catastrophes happen, the people they're still taking care of, right? Because some people have all the right intentions and work hard and do all the right things, and there's catastrophic stuff happens to them, right? So
Yeah. It's like, That's the real thing. You know, I really worry a lot. Like, I've noticed, like, one thing that's, like, one of my own criticisms of, like, what I've been doing with this is, you know, because there's always room for criticism of anything. One of my own criticisms with this is, like, the artists who are on this are, like, most of them are, like, kind of, like, finished their masters, right? Or they're, like, on a point where, like, they are kind of, like, what we call emerging artists, whatever that means, right? But, like, they're...
which means they put, like 10 years of school in.
Yeah, like, they've broken through the mold, and, like, they're, like, coming out, you know?
Yeah.
But that, like, punching through that we see, like, people doing forever, most people don't make it past that point. And I think for this pandemic, it's unfortunate because, like, I want the quality to be really high, too. And those players often, like, they don't make it out. And then something like this happens, and it just, like, destroys their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It has the potential to do that. And maybe the enthusiasm wasn't really as strong as you'd think if that's all it takes to break it, but it's a pretty strong force, you know. And it always worries me, you know. I wonder what this means for the arts. Some people are saying it's going to be a renaissance. Some people are saying it's going to be like a complete depression, artistically. What do you think?
I don't like projecting the future. I don't like it when people say, like, this is going to happen.
Such a materialist.
Because you're such a materialist. No, but it's just like the universe is so full of contingencies, you know, and like and I don't think that's a depressing thing. That's just like the reality, and it's actually exciting because we don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you know, it's just the problem is, you can project either direction, catastrophe or renaissance, like coming out of this, you know. I keep hearing people say, usually the people who are genuinely very positive, upbeat people being like, yeah, but when this lifts, you know, people are going to want art so badly and performances so badly and all this stuff, which is probably true to an extent. Then again, thirsty. Huh?
They're going to be thirsty.
Yeah, they're going to be thirsty. Speaking of which. Then again, like, I wish this was a beer. Then again, such a materialist. The like, you know, so many artists have just like dropped because of this, and people who are great, like you said, like people who, you know, so it's hard. At the same time, how do I put this diplomatically? Maybe I can't put it diplomatically.
You don't have to be diplomatic.
I think there are a lot of people who are existing within the arts student space who maybe haven't had to pivot and find ways of turning what they do into income in a difficult situation before. They haven't been sort of like forced to because they've been like surviving on some kind of patronage from
the International Bank of Mommy and Daddy.
Yes, that kind of thing. And you know, there's just this is, I don't want to mean this as like a harsh criticism, but just that, like, you know, I know some people who complain a lot about the pandemic, but then when I ask them, like, well, have you invested in any good equipment for recording and live streaming and teaching online and all this stuff? And people are like, oh, teaching online just won't work. Like some people who say that kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like,
it's incorrect. It's factually false.
Factually incorrect, A, and B, most of these people are people I can tell who haven't done any preliminary research or asked their colleagues for help on finding software and setting up a good rig and blah, blah. So it's just like, you know, there's a certain amount of like, this pandemic is also showing who's willing to pivot and find new ways of monetizing and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but that comes with a giant caveat that it's also a catastrophe where it's like, I had a pretty large studio going into this, and my students have been amazingly good about going online, which has been so thankful to them. So I feel very lucky. Like I'm not meaning that I like worked super hard and made it happen, and that's why I'm surviving. And I'm not doing as well as I was before the pandemic, obviously. It's been pretty tight some months, but like, you know, I'm just saying, like, there's a balance there too. I feel like I'm just like this annoying centrist today, where I'm like, whoa, we have to like look at.
I'm not here to. No. I want to have like a wide variety of opinions on this show. I don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to toe the line.
I'm just saying there's.
You don't have to be anything.
It can be it can be a catastrophe while also showing who's prepared to like, you know, pivot and move forward and find ways to and those are the people that even without a pandemic we're gonna make it long term as musicians probably, right? Because that's the kind of career it is. I think Loki's fun here. Loki, come here, buddy.
Yeah.
They want to say hi to you.
There he is.
No, he's.
I'm waiting for that spike. I'm waiting for that viewership spike.
Yeah, Loki.
Once the cat gets on screen.
We need you to sell. Oh, there you're on the desk. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna grab him. Loki. Okay.
Good.
Cat.
So this is a great time to say, while this beautiful cat is here, if you have not donated to Mike Ibsen and his fluffy child that he is taking care of, it will die without your help. If you have not donated to this wonderful man's concert, please do so. Thank you, by the way, for everyone who has done so already. And the link is in here. It's paypal.me/concerts for end of time. I've basically been harassing you with this link. So if you so you can donate to, and 100% of the money goes to him. I don't take any of it.
And
None of
a
my
percentage
filthy
of it
hands
goes
touch.
to Loki's treats. He may look like
Yes.
he's not starving, but according to him, according to Loki, he's always starving.
Yes, of course. Of course.
Look at him.
This is-
So like
You're gonna let this cat starve? Is that kind of person?
Is that
I know these viewers are not gonna let this cat starve.
Okay.
I know.
But look at Loki. I mean, come on. Get a little Loki. He's just totally confident. Oh my gosh.
This is great. Well, I forget what we're talking about.
Very serious topics. Do you have any non-serious topics, Dan?
Oh.
We've covered Marxism, atheism, and materialism.
Well, living in the Netherlands is.
Steve says Loki.
Loki. Yes. So you have had the privilege of living in three. I guess privilege. I don't know if this is the right word, but you've had the honor of living in 3 different continents in your life. You were born in Indonesia. Right?
Actually, I went there when I was 2 months old.
Okay. You lived in Indonesia for how many years?
10 years of my childhood.
10 years of your childhood. That's a solid upbringing.
I'm very lucky.
Canada.
Canada.
And now you're here in Amsterdam, in Utrecht, in the Netherlands, in Holland.
The Netherlands, Holland, yes.
Yes. So, like, how do you feel those experiences living on those 3 just drastically different places has impacted the way you think and the decisions you make in life?
I feel super lucky. So, like, I think privilege is definitely the right word. Not in the sort of cheap sense of, like, some immutable characteristic about me automatically makes me more privileged, but in the sense that, like, I had the lucky circumstances of being able to be in multiple cultures and experiencing that. Because whether you're, like, privileged financially or not, having that experience of being in different places enriches you as a person, right?
Totally.
Yeah, so, like, that makes me feel super lucky and #blessed.
BLEST.
BLESSE. Yeah. Yes. So I feel super lucky. I think. How has it impacted how I think? Well, I like to think it's made me open-minded in the sense that people might think being a hardcore materialist atheist means you're not open-minded, but I like to think that growing up in another culture, being in, I grew up as a very like extremely serious Christian, so I was in that kind of culture, which is different than the culture I sort of surround myself in now, being like a musician / many of my family and friends are still Christian, but being outside of that now. So I've been a part of a lot of different cultural groups within different countries and within different like ideologies, and I think that has made me, I think, open to having difficult conversations on difficult topics, which is something I appreciate about. Like,
yeah, that's a quality you're definitely good at. You're able to brook some very difficult conversations with people and end up coming out without going ad hominem. We've had many disagreements that are actually like really, really enjoyable.
I've learned a lot from them. I mean, that's what hopefully what good disagreement does is help you learn. I don't want to say I do it perfectly. I mean, that's one funny thing about being in the Netherlands as opposed to Canada is I don't really miss the sort of weird Canadian social situation where like you don't know if you can say what you think with someone because you're worried that it's going to be like, not that it's going to be offensive, and that's always like bad that you try not to offend people, because it's good to have a polite society where you try not to offend people. But what I find in Canada is kind of like you're kind of worried more often about saying the wrong thing and giving the wrong impression and like burning a bridge that way or something. Whereas here people are incredibly direct, and it's by no means a perfect culture. There are all sorts of problems here with many things, but I really appreciate that with Dutch people you always know what they think and you can always say what you think, and nobody's gonna. People kind of prefer that because if they don't like what you think or what you say, they'd rather know up front.
Right.
You know. And
I certainly would.
I sort of like that. So.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to accept, but I do like it. It kind of eases my anxiety a little bit.
Yeah.
I know sometimes I'm not sure what people are thinking, and I'm like, oh, what are they really thinking?
Yeah. And probably both of you are like, did I hurt the other person? Everybody says social anxiety for no reason.
Yeah, pretty much. That's why we're always apologizing. It's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You know, that's hard to break that habit, because when I say I'm sorry here to Dutch people for nothing, because in Canada you say I'm sorry for nothing all the time, people get suspicious. They're like, what is this guy hiding? Why is he always apologizing? It's super weird. And like, so many times when I've like apologized for stuff that I just shouldn't have, and then people are like kind of freaked out by it a little bit, you know, because they're like, it's very odd behavior. So I really like that about being here. It's different. I don't know, like, if I can say exactly what each place I've lived has made me think, how it's changed how I think. Because I feel like people like to think of countries as monoliths too, and I know I just did that with my discussion of the Netherlands and Canada, but like I grew up in the part of Canada that I was in when I was a kid, when I wasn't in Indonesia, was like small town Alberta, which is incredibly different than Vancouver. Like when I moved to Vancouver, so many things happened, and I met so many people that exposed me to new ideas and new ways of thinking, and I didn't adopt those all immediately. Like obviously I don't really buy into this idea that like you get into a new environment and you just like totally change as a person because you automatically take on what other people say.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're not exposed to a new idea, you can't change your mind, right?
Yeah, your environment does influence you.
It does, yeah. I just like there's a lot of things about culture in Vancouver that I really didn't get along with or like in terms of like the sort of like university sort of hyper left culture. Some of it turned me off in some ways, and also like the sort of like obviously like super rich people that culture in Vancouver annoyed me. It's like, you know, and that's nothing against people who are rich in Vancouver. It's just like there's certain cultural things in that city that I like didn't jive with me, right? So it's not like I just took on every cultural thing in the place that I moved to, right? It's like, you know, I guess what I'm saying is like all the places have informed how I think, but yeah, I think a lot of people in today's day and age who travel, like a lot of us have traveled, especially musicians, we've studied in different places, and I think there is kind of this, there is a bit of enemy, like alienation, you know, and stuff that is a problem, but there's also this thing of like, it's kind of beautiful being like a cultural, not chameleon, not nomad, like someone who's lived in multiple places and taken on all these different things and learned all these different things from different cultures and different places and different ideologies. I think that's more common now, and I think that's kind of beautiful in its own way, even though it's also kind of weird not feeling like you belong to anywhere, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely, there's like a weird, a lonely liberty about being like from multiple cultures.
Yeah.
not being able to be pegged into anything. Like, when I go to Europe, like, people are like, what?
Yeah.
What are you?
What are you? Why do you act this way? Yeah.
What's well, people are like that anyways, but in general, like, people are like, oh, what creature, what spawned you?
Yeah,
What combo are you?
Yeah. Have you been to like Eastern Europe? I mean, you probably got some.
I have been, yeah.
Probably got some
Europe
crazy
is cool.
racism in some places in Europe, like.
Oh yeah, I've been called Taliban multiple times.
Wow.
Like,
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Like, it was funny. Like, I was
because in
called
Canada they would think it, but in Canada they would think it and not say it.
Right. Yeah. I grew up in small town Canada too, and for any of the Americans there, like, don't listen to the smug Canadians. You gotta listen to people from the small towns. It's not that different.
Yeah.
It's not that different. Yeah. There's some things that are different. Like, we don't like guns as a culture as much, but like, small towns are pretty much the same. Yeah. It's.
I mean, there's there's hunting. That's a thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But then there is a gun culture in small town Alberta, especially. So.
Yeah, there's a gun. Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
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 Staven says, Michael and I sometimes chat until 2 a.m. in the morning about some of these kinds of topics you're covering now. It's true.
It's great.
Staven always calls me out of nowhere and he's like, let's talk about like Marxism and whatever. And I'm like, okay, can we not tonight? No, I'm just kidding. I love it. It's good. We have a good
God
time.
of the Gaps, Boaphosaurus, thank you. I'm just seeing that now.
Frank Scott says, send your address and I'll send kibbles. That would be awesome. Okay. I don't want you to pay like too much postage though, Frank. Like, you know.
It's like,
and Staven says, great conversation, guys. Great insights. Would love to join you someday. You should have luthiers on, man. Just have him build a guitar on stream.
wow. Just like pre-record the video and then just like do those like
time lapses.
Time lapse record. Those are so cool. I saw one the other day. They were making one with like noodles, ramen noodles.
Oh
yeah,
I've
like,
seen this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, he takes his ramen noodles and he like puts it in there. And he like covers it in like hot glue. Just like so messed up. And it actually like sounds good. And you're like,
oh, Buckminster Fluster says you deserve a cold one after that concert. Definitely.
Yeah, you shredded some hard material. Let's talk about that.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yeah, how did you
learn it all?
Yeah, what do you do to prepare for that kind of concert? What do you do to prepare for Nate's piece? Just that one. Like, we could just start.
Okay,
there.
like to be totally honest about that sonata, I had a lot of like anxiety over my ability to learn that piece, and I feel badly that I didn't learn it sooner and more thoroughly necessarily. And it's not that I haven't been working on it; I have worked on it since Nathan wrote it for me a year and a half ago, or a couple years ago. But it's just it's 21 minutes long, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Like playing through the second movement, when I first got it, was already enough to make my hand sort of start to cramp. Part of that was bad playing habits. Part of it was like there was just some stuff in there that I hadn't had to do before.
Right.
Especially some of those
gestures.
Yeah, and some of that tremolo, so those tremolo positions, holding them for so long. So it was like when I learned recordos. This is a silly example, but when I was in my undergrad, you know my story. I started super late, like incredibly late. And
yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Save that story, okay? We're going to talk about it. Because that's good. I want to make sure we cover that.
But like, I learned recordos a couple years after starting to learn guitar. Or like, maybe 3 years. 3 years after learning it. 2.5, 3 years. So like, I was pretty underdeveloped technically, and tremolo was new to me. But my teacher at the time, Brad Mahan, bless his soul, was like, you're going to learn recordos. And I was like, this is okay. We're going to do it. And I swear to God, it took like a year before I could play any of the repeats in it. Just because like my endurance just wasn't there. In general, technically, but especially with tremolo. So, it's like one of those things where like that piece, I felt like I would never get it. Now I can pick up that piece and play it through with all the repeats, like without warming up, it's fine, right? So the sonata, when I first got it, Nathan's sonata, 21 minutes long, has a lot of techniques I haven't had to do in those certain ways yet, like before, especially that sort of step on rock, like crazy trill section or slur section in the second movement. And a lot of the stuff in the third movement, which is still, as you can tell, a little bit.
I haven't looked at the score yet, but I really keep talking about like I want to play it for my DNA recital.
Yeah, you should do it.
Yeah.
But basically, it's been a lot of like putting it down, bringing it back, putting it down, bringing it back in short periods of time. I toured the first two movements with Nathan, and that went reasonably well. The third movement, I needed more time on, like, because he wrote it for me, and I think I got the final draft of all the movements 3 months in advance of the tour.
Okay.
Which
Yeah.
seems like a long time, but for a piece like
It's
that,
not really, not for a piece like that.
not really. So
Yeah.
I made the decision. I was like, I don't want to play the third movement badly on the tour. The second movement ends in a satisfying way. So I just played those two movements on the tour, and this was the first time actually performing the third. So, you know, for preparing that kind of piece, and me and Nathan were talking about this on Zoom earlier this week, is like, I was like, it's not going to be as clean as I want the last movement. But the thing is, like, it's the sort of piece where I think, like, I can play that movement well in practice, but it's the sort of thing where it's so intense and it's so much endurance that I have to put it on stage like 15, 20 times before it's going to be really comfortable.
Yeah.
And I have to be okay with that being the reality, that like it needs to be aired in public a lot before it's going to be super solid in public, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's arguments that I could do that in other ways, you know, getting friends together, playing for people over Zoom and stuff, not just in a concert. But I'm also at this point where, like, when it comes to this kind of concert, like, I know the music speaks for itself, and whatever little things that happen, you know, I know it's not ruining the piece for anyone else. So
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the performance. I really did. I really liked it.
Yeah.
It made me want to play it a lot. I was like, wow.
Yeah, you should play
really,
the piece.
really cool.
It's great. And I'm happy with where a lot of it is sitting now. It's just 21 minutes long and just hard on the hands, and that's not a criticism of Nathan. It's just I told him to go all out writing this piece, and I'm really happy he did, because it's made me grow so much as
That's
a player.
terrifying. I can't believe you had the guts to say that to me.
Yeah, I know. In retrospect, I'm like,
that's an insane thing to tell Nathan.
yeah. In retrospect, that was a little bit an interesting choice.
You shouldn't have listened, Nate.
No kidding.
It's good. It's good. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and the concert, the program in general. I'm really happy with, you know, where a lot of that music sits. And I don't think it was that. Did it seem like a big program?
It was a big program.
Okay. I guess I did a ridiculous program in my last year of my master's. I did the Chaconne, the Hoppstock, Nate Sonata, and Grand Overture.
Yeah.
So that was like even crazier. So this program doesn't seem that crazy, but I think I'm a little bit like, you know.
Yeah.
It's
a serious program.
Yeah, But I don't know. Preparing for this concert, I was really burnt out before Christmas, like really not in a good space with guitar. I wasn't enjoying playing. I didn't take a holiday for like 2 years, which was my own fault. A proper holiday that wasn't like traveling to a family gathering in Canada or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like time where I didn't take time where I just like rested and away from the guitar and everything. So it was really burnt out. So it was mostly been since Christmas that I put this program together, but I just, like I said, with the program, with the sort of architecture of the program, the palindrome and the theme of like apocryphal works being outside the usual canon, it just made a lot of sense with the stuff that I played from the last 4 years that I really loved. So it was sort of a greatest hits in some ways. And then there was some new stuff like Tova's piece. Tova's piece was since Christmas I learned it. So yeah, I don't know.
Wow. That was one of the highlights. That was really liked that one.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Nathan says famous last words. Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. So I just want to redirect the conversation a little bit, because we skimmed over something very important, and that was the your origin story.
Backstory. Like I have a comic book or something.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, you have a very, very unique story about how you came to classical guitar. So please tell the audience.
I mean, I guess it's a little bit unique, but I feel like it's more common among classical guitarists than other instruments, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I know a few other people who have a similar story, but yeah. So like, I didn't really. I mean, my parents were very supportive of me doing music when I was younger, but I quit piano lessons because I didn't like practicing, which is, you know, I'm kind of glad my parents didn't force me to go through with it, because I probably would have just ended up hating it and done something else, non-music related. And then I took some drum lessons when I was a teenager. I got decently okay at like basic drums, but I wasn't like by any means very accomplished. And then played a little bass guitar when I was like 16, but like just from some tabs and like never really took any lessons, so I didn't really learn properly. And then in university, I was in general studies because I was like, well, I should study something while I figure out what I want to do. And I decided that I really wanted to be a musician, which is kind of crazy now that I think about it, being like already like 17, 18. And I was taking some voice lessons at the time when I was like late teens, early adulthood. And I was going to apply for the voice program, and then I took on a whim this like classical, or this like guitar ensemble course for like non-music majors at my university, where Brad was teaching. And Brad Mahan was teaching that, and he saw that I had an aptitude for guitar. That
And what were you studying at that time?
General studies.
General studies?
Yeah.
Just like general arts?
Yep. Like nothing
wow. Okay.
in particular. I was like, I'll get my intro courses out of the way. And I was like, I was teetering between an English degree because I love reading and writing.
Right.
So I was going between an English degree and I was like, maybe I can study music, but I didn't have enough formal training. And I was like, so I was sort of taking some like voice lessons on the side, taking this guitar ensemble course and taking some really basic music courses because I talked to the head of music department. I was like, I want to try some of these to see if I can like transition to the music program. And this was at Ambrose University, which is a small university in Calgary that, how do I say this while being diplomatic? Oh my gosh, it's hard. They didn't have a huge pool of people applying necessarily for the music program. It was like an incredibly new music program.
Right.
They had basically gone from like being a theological school to like adding a liberal arts degrees. So like, like a Christian school that was adding liberal arts degrees. This is before I was an atheist, obviously. And so I like, you know, took this guitar ensemble course. And Brad, who was teaching at Brad Mahan, he's a great guy, head of Mount Royal Conservatory, I think now in Calgary. Anyways, he was teaching that, and he was like, this guy has some aptitude, he really enjoys it. So he started giving me pieces for outside of the class, and he was teaching me to read notation even when a lot of other people were still reading from tabs and stuff. So he was kind of like trying to give me sort of semi-guitar lessons outside of the course. In a way, he was giving me extra homework and like taking me aside afterwards to work on stuff. And then he was like, you should apply for not just voice, but also audition for guitar. And I auditioned for voice already once in my first year and had gotten rejected, and they said you need to improve a little more and then you can audition again. So they were trying to keep the standards, you know, high enough. And then I auditioned for voice and guitar, and they were like, well, we don't think we can let you in for voice, but your guitar playing has gotten so far so fast, and you've already played some like good classical pieces at a basic level, so you can come into the program.
Amazing.
I was, like, one of the first classical guitarists in their program, so it was very much like a, you know, yeah. But that was when I was like 19. So I started guitar at 19, got into the program at 20.
Wow.
Did 4 years of a bachelor's.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's really, really impressive. I mean, yeah, that doesn't happen too often. I mean, when they actually get to your level, I mean, I've seen some people do that, but they usually don't end up doing a master's in the Netherlands. Like, it doesn't usually end up happening that way.
I mean, to be honest, okay, like, I had to audition twice at Ambrose, which had very low standards comparatively to some of the other schools because they didn't have a big program, they didn't have a ton of applicants. They had standards, I'm not saying they didn't, but it's just like not the same. When I finished there, I wanted to do a master's, and I auditioned to San Francisco UBC and UFC. And I didn't get into the programs I wanted to the first year, and then I had to audition again the next year, and then I got into UBC and went there, sort of by the skin of my teeth. And, you know, it was one of those things where I showed up in Daniel Bolshoi, basically, like, had to, like, fix a lot of problems.
Slap you around, yeah.
Because I was so inexperienced compared to most people in a master's program at UBC, you know. It was like entering the sort of, like, lion's den, you know. Like, not that my colleagues weren't nice, they were all really supportive, but just, like, going from only having played guitar for like 5 years at that point into the one of the biggest master's programs in Canada, or one of the more competitive ones. Is like, I think UBC is kind of
definitely in that region, like
and at that point too was really up there with like McGill. And anyway, the point is, it's not to compare, but it really pushed me. And then, but that was after a year off, right? So like I took a year off between doing a whole bunch of festivals, taking lessons with Toma at the time online. So like, and then I auditioned to Maastricht 3 times actually. The first time I auditioned to master's programs, I sent a video to Carlo and he didn't accept me. The second time I sent another video, he didn't accept me, but I moved to the Netherlands on a holiday working permit to study with him and another teacher who shall remain unnamed.
Yes, he shall.
Yes. Okay. Anyways, I came here to study, and I didn't get into the program, but I was like, if I move to the Netherlands, I can take lessons with Carlo and get some of the information, anyways. And then the third audition, he let me in because I mean, you think he had told me he had. What did he say? Was it 50 applicants, 40 applicants, or something that year?
Wow.
So my point is like, I'm not saying this to brag. It sounds like I'm bragging, but I'm just saying like. It's not like I just like improved rapidly and got into everything I wanted to. I like took years off between things and applied multiple times to some programs.
But that kind of tenacity is really rare. That's what I'm kind of talking about. Like, I think most people in those circumstances, they just like cut their losses and like whatever. And like, I don't blame people who have done that. Like,
yeah, like
it's a crazy world. But
yeah, and I have a lot of student loan debt because of it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and it's whoa.
This last degree I paid for myself. This degree in the Netherlands I paid for just working as a musician. So I'm proud of that. But the last
the DMA's been free because they paid for it, so it was great.
Yeah.
But the rest, whoa. Anyway.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa.
Whoa.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Sorry, I derailed your train of thought.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is the tenacity of being able to stay in it for so long is really very impressive and really it's something that I think it goes with the long, like we were saying this earlier, like when we were talking, you know, like people have asked me like, what's the secret?
Yeah.
Not many people make such a silly question, but some people actually have asked that question, like, what is the secret, like, to like being a musician? Like, what does it take? And the question is like, well, like, you have to stay in it until everybody quits or dies. You know?
Such a pessimistic way to put it.
It's just true. It's just true because like you have to want it more than life. Like you have to want it so bad, and that means that you're able to take hits that a lot of people aren't able to,
or not willing to, which I don't blame.
Or not willing to, yeah. Like I said, I'm not blaming people for not wanting to like walk in with a bunch of battle scars after like. You know, finally making a middle class income. Yeah,
finally making like the bare tax bracket minimum,
class,
like while you have like no days off and your every waking hour is spent on like practicing or admin or something. Sorry, my dad is asking, is this recorded? It is, right? Like it's going to be on the.
It is channel. Recorded, yes.
Yeah.
So this will be on the. Yeah.
Sorry.
So this will be on Concerts for the End of Time, the Twitch channel for 90 days, but it will be on YouTube and Facebook. On this Facebook group, Facebook page, Concerts for the End of Time, indefinitely, and will also be on YouTube indefinitely. So
nice.
You'll be able to find it in the playlist Concerts for the End of Time live streams.
Yes.
So you'll be able to watch it whenever you want.
Cool.
And
sorry, I had something I wanted to contribute to that. What's the secret?
About tenacity.
So your secret is staying until everyone quits or dies. That helps. There's also the thing of like this is something that I watched. I've been really loving. I love the band Periphery. Maybe you know them. They're like this metal band, prog metal.
Oh
band.
yeah.
And their guitarist Misha Mansour, who's one of my biggest inspirations for picking up the guitar. Actually, when I started, I was inspired mostly by like these kind of guys, like Misha Mansour or like Tosin Abasi or like.
Tosin is the legend.
Yeah,
just the greatest. Freaks me out.
And also Protest the Hero was a big influence for me, being Canadian. Anyways, so. Misha I've been watching a lot of like interviews with him since the pandemic started, and you know, one thing he said that actually ties back to our earlier conversation about monetization is he's like, the market is that you can't sell music and rely on it for a living. It's just not possible. So he's like, what I tell people who want to get into this space of being a professional musician is be ready to pivot and monetize in whatever ways you can. And what he means by that is like, for example, with their band, like they figured out that their fans are all like nerds about guitar gear. So they really heavily went into developing pedals, developing software. I mean, I use Tosin Abasi's Neural DSP plugin for like my electric tone into my computer, you know. I have Misha Mansour started a company called Good Drums, which makes drum programming technology so that people who are like bedroom guitarists and write their own riffs can make a drum track to go with it that sounds really good. So like,
oh my god, I want that.
Yeah, and it's you know it's but like him and the other members of the band realized like they wanted to keep touring, but they're like, this is not a way to make a good living. So they like realized we have to have all these other ways to monetize what we do, which is, you know, letting the music be just the music. And the other thing is, as a result, they've said like it's nice that we don't have to like worry about what a label thinks about what our record is. We can write whatever we want because we made our own label, because we don't need to worry about sales exactly. And
you're not playing for your freedom.
Yeah, and while it's
playing for your freedom,
and it's kind of easy for him to say because they're like super internationally successful band, but they had a really long, rough start where they were working other jobs the whole time and writing their albums and recording their albums in their own basements. Like essentially, they produced all their albums themselves and really trailblazed this idea of like the band being the producers also and doing everything themselves, so they had control over everything. And you know, it's also made me realize, like, in this pandemic, teaching for most of my income, some people kind of say like, well, it's kind of sucks that you have to rely on teaching, but I'm like, actually it's kind of nice because I don't have to play. When I go to perform, I perform what I want. When I get concert like this, or when the pandemic's not happening, when I get a solo guitar concert, even though it does make up a portion of my income, I can play the program that I really believe in and want to play. I don't have to play like whatever the concert organizer wants me to play, etc. Like, you know. So
could you play something really nice that just it's just like something that people like? Could you just play like
you know, I've done fairly recently my fair share of those, like, you know, playing for senior centers and stuff, which has its own well, that has its own reward, you know. And of course, when I play that kind of thing for certain audiences, I program certain pieces. But I'm just saying I'm not forced.
I made an arrangement of wake me up when September ends the other day for high school. So
exactly.
I do this too. It's okay.
My point is just that, like, the fact that I can monetize my knowledge as a teacher, and I enjoy teaching, which is very lucky, and that can be a stable part of my income, means that I have more flexibility and freedom with what I record and what I perform. And that's really nice, you know, like, that I can do what I believe in artistically as a performer, you know? Which I think is important.
Yeah, I mean, you get to keep your spirit. You get to be, like, the person you want to be.
Yeah. And the other thing that Misha said in this interview that I thought was interesting was, like, people always ask them, when was the big break? Was it when you went on tour with Dream Theater in Europe, you know, like that kind of thing? And he was like, you know, there's no moment, really. It's not like, it's a lot of small, very incremental, tiny victories that seem, some of them might seem like a big break to someone on the outside, but like the back end reality of like what the band is making and like what a certain tour gets them and like this kind of thing, it's like, you know, I'm sure you understand this too. You can get a break that on Facebook timeline looks like some big, huge thing.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, the reality of it is, like, it's a small step forward that just bumps up your income or your, like, clout within the community, like, just that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like...
Yeah.
And that's what Steven was saying, is, like, the more you put yourself out there, the more chances you have to make those kind of opportunities, right? It's true, like, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, for me, it's, like,
100%.
people saying, like, what's the secret? It's, like, the secret is like a bunch of little tiny victories that might not even seem like much, but that's not even a secret. That's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, but when those like little victories happen, like when they're anticlimactic, it can discourage you, and when they are like pretty big, it can let your guard down. You know, like I don't know if you like ever follow Jocko Willink. He's like this crazy Navy SEAL dude, and he like has all these podcasts. And he's a very, very interesting person, and he's done horrible things that I don't agree with, but he's an incredibly dedicated and disciplined person. So when he talks about that, I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
You know, so one thing he talks about a lot is like when he was like a commander of the Navy SEALs, he said he made sure that he trained people to not relax until the mission is finished.
Yeah.
Because even when people finish their primary objective, like, maybe, like, it's like, we gotta take this base, you know? That's, like, the primary objective, but, like, there's a wider mission there. Like, it's like, a lot of people will relax after that, and that's when it gets dangerous. That's when, like, all these things can happen, right? Because someone can try to retake it, or things can happen like that. And you know, it's like, not relaxing until the final mission is completed. Not just the primary objective, you know? I think that's something that, like, I've, like, really taken to heart with what you're describing here, with you know, these big breaks. Like, you know, maybe you're playing with Dream Theater, but, like, it's not over. And I think, you know, success is really, like, determined by, like, whether that person's gonna, like, keep pushing after that, or if they're really going to, like, let themselves coast on that victory, you know?
It's hard too, because, like, for me, I've been trying to learn about balance, finishing this master's degree, getting a little bit older, and, like, pushing myself so hard for so long. I just, like, burnt out at the end of last year, and, like, I realized also, like, there is something about working effectively, and that's kind of hard. It's hard to strike that balance down, like, because the problem is, you shouldn't relax in the sense of, like, letting opportunities pass you by. You've got to be on the lookout and be jumping at them, but also, like, you can't jump at them and do the job well if you're, like, too exhausted either. So it's a hard, you know, like how much do you sort of, like, step back to let yourself recharge so that you can still take advantage of those opportunities? I feel like there's not an easy answer to that for every person, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like you can't hit the brakes, but you do have to slow down sometimes. Like, that's the kind of way I think about it. It's like, you can't stop driving, but sometimes you can't go, like, top speed, you know? Sometimes you have to go, like 20 kilometers an hour. Like, you know? But as long as you don't fully stop, I think, you know, that's how I try to tell my students, like, not have a 0 day. Like, a day where, like, it's like, you know, if you're really totaled, like, just practice for 1 minute. Yeah. Like, because that tiny bit of progress is better than doing nothing.
I don't know. Sometimes, like, putting the guitar away for a couple days has really been good for my playing and my ability to express myself and learn something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to manage. I think what it is I think when you rest, it should be, like, intentional rest.
Yeah.
Intentionally taking time away to recharge and not sort of. I think a lot of people
collapsing.
I think a lot of people when they sort of. I mean, I don't think laziness really exists. I don't want to use that term, but when they sort of check out all the time and sort of ignore what they should be doing to move themselves forward, it's more like trying to escape from reality because reality is too hard.
Yeah.
Which is the brutal truth that a lot of people are dealing with realities they can't deal with, and so I don't really blame people for doing that. But at the same time, as a musician, you can't afford to do that, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's where, like, having a good therapist and, like, taking care of your mental health is, like, important.
Right.
It's like,
I was gonna say, like, in acceptance and commitment therapy, like, you know.
Yeah.
I've read so much about that. You know, we call that experiential avoidance. Some people, they don't practice because it means that, like, if they fail themselves, then it's better than having the responsibility of having to succeed, of having to keep going. Right?
Yeah, and, like, you know, with the sonata, that's a good thing to tie into that is, like, it was so. I cared so much about playing it so well because Nathan wrote me this amazing piece. He's one of my best friends. You know, like, I wanted to play it so well. And at the same time, it was so hard for me and such a challenge that there's a certain amount of, like, I think on a subconscious level, like, kind of overwhelmed me in some ways, which is not his fault. But, like, it's a microcosm of the thing. I really had to struggle with that. Like, how do I not just avoid how much of a challenge this is and, like, actually put myself into it and, you know, make sure that and at the same time, many parts of it were a positive joy to play. But there's definitely that thing where, like, when something is so intimidating that it kind of overwhelms you, it can kind of paralyze you, you know, and that's...
Yeah, totally.
And that's... And sometimes that happens with the pieces that we're the most excited about playing. You know, like, you have those, like, bucket list pieces. And then you start learning them and you're like, oh, God, what did I get myself into? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's just all part of what you have to navigate, I think, being in that space as a musician.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, so I'm gonna be heading off now pretty soon to go help with the live streaming in the Guitar Society of Toronto's concert today. With
Oh my god, I'm
Adam
sorry, I
Larkin.
forgot to mention it. Oh my.
No, that's okay. It's at
It was
7
on my
o'clock.
notes. It's right here.
It's all good. It's all good. No, so I'm so if anybody wants a guitar double feature for anybody in North America, don't do this to yourself if you're in Europe. But
Yeah, it's like midnight here.
yeah, it's too late. But for anybody who wants to do a double feature of classical guitar, the Guitar Society of Toronto, of which I'm also a board member, is doing a concert with Adam Levin as well today. So I'm helping them with the live streaming on that as well. And that one is really interesting. It's a very kind of intimate kind of situation. So it's over Zoom, and so everyone is kind of like you kind of get a sense of everyone in the audience is kind of there. So it's a very, very intimate setting. And there's still, of course, a chat and things like that. But before any of that, all that being said, I just want to thank you so much, Mike, for that excellent concert.
Thank you.
For putting so much into that. You put your heart and soul into that. I could tell, I could hear it. Your audio equipment was excellent also. Like the
Thank you, Julian.
it was really studio quality, yeah.
Thanks.
I'm buying those microphones.
Yes.
Like,
I have
like
Julian.
today.
Julian has put up with so many. Like, as when this pandemic started, I was like, I knew a little bit, but I didn't know that much. Julian has been I almost swore, freaking saint with like answering my stupid questions on Facebook Messenger out of like no, like he just was doing it out of the goodness of his heart. So thank you, Julian, for telling me about these mics and helping me set it up. And
Yeah, Julian Bertino. Shout out to Julian. Excellent recording artist, 10-string guitarist.
composer.
Composer.
He does it all, man. He does it all. He literally does it all.
He really does the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, also, Steven says, an ideal is a judge. If you practice something, you get punished by falling short of that ideal. That demotivated people, but it could actually be used as a motivator. Yeah. Yes.
I think that's what children have as an advantage. Like they don't have a preconceived... They're not... Like, people who are adults are experts at listening to music.
Yeah.
They've heard the music so many times in their mind.
Yeah,
they have a concept of what that is. And children don't have that.
Being the teacher of adult students is like being a therapist sometimes because people are.
It is a therapy job. Yeah.
They're like so like, and I get it. I was an adult learner too. That's one thing about starting so late that I really appreciate is that I know what it's like to be an adult and have a fully developed sense of taste and be comparing yourself all the time to your standards.
Yeah.
Your ridiculously high standards and be falling short for like 4 years straight. Like I did competitions where I was constantly losing to 15, 16-year-olds for like the first half of my 20s. It wasn't until I was like in my late 20s that I was like able to sort of like hack it with people my age in my sphere,
Yeah.
And that it's just a product of the number of hours it takes to learn, but like
it really is.
So I think that's been really actually good for me, and I'm super thankful for that in retrospect because now teaching adult students, I understand. I'm not saying that people who learn when they're kids can't do this, but I have sort of like an immediate access to those experiences for adult students, and I think it helps me like empathize with them and help them work through some of that because it's being an adult, you just have all these neuroses built into your brain already. It's terrible.
Yeah. It's really But they make us, like you said, they make us better teachers.
Yeah.
And they make us,
And also,
you remember learning it.
Also, adult students have advantages. I mean, a lot of people who come to me as adults, they're like, will I be able to learn? I didn't start as a kid. I'm like, look, you have analytical skills that children don't have. You have time management skills that children don't have.
You also have an attention span that children don't have.
Yeah, you also have the attention span, exactly. So it's like, there are totally pros and cons to this whole like learning young, learning late thing, and like I think a lot of people don't realize. Like we have this cult of like the prodigy, like the young talent.
The cult of youth.
The cult of youth really annoys me. So that's a whole other topic, but
understandable. Yeah.
Because I'm an old curmudgeon, now. I'm 30, so I'm like officially like grumpy old.
You're actually 30 now?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're so old.
I know. Crazy.
I'm just kidding. I'm almost
crazy.
There. I'm almost
but I'm
there.
like losing the hair. Okay, anyways.
But I'm not there yet. Top 30 under 30 people. I'm not there yet.
Never
just
made
letting
it.
you know. You know, just letting you know.
I never made it into CBC's 30 under 30 classical musician.
That's it eats me alive.
I actually don't really care what the CBC thinks of me, but maybe that's just me.
I care a lot, frankly,
Really?
what the
Okay.
CBC thinks about me. I do a lot to get their approval, probably.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah. Just straight up.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, thank you, Daniel.
But-
This has been lovely.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mike. You're excellent. And for anybody who hasn't donated already, please do. I'm gonna send the link one more time over here on Facebook. You know, obviously Mike deserves millions of dollars, but this is
I
the
don't know about
world
that.
we live
It's
in.
a little extreme.
This is the world we live in. So unfortunately, he's gonna have to settle. But you know,
Hundreds
every
or
little
thousands,
thing,
you know.
every little thing counts. And some people asked if you could donate in euros. You can donate in euros. So it's all through the PayPal link. So if that is something, please do that and you know, contribute to this amazing artist. Another thing people have been asking: will it be live? Is this being recorded? Yes. So you'll be able to access this on Twitch, on Facebook, at the Concert for the End of Time Facebook page, and on YouTube on my personal YouTube account, youtube.com/CandyRamjattan. So thank you again, Mike. Thank you to everyone who donated. Thank you for this awesome concert, and I look forward to seeing more of your Messy Desk series.
Yes, I need to make this schedule. I've been super lazy. It's
Yes,
2021.
yes.
Yes, 24th, and I haven't even made this.
And do you know who your next
Yes,
person
I
you're interviewing
know
is?
that I'm moving, and I know that upcoming guests include Ben Diamond, because he has a CD coming out.
Ben Diamond. He will also be on this channel not too far from now.
Nice.
I'm trying to remember what day.
Elena Chekan. I think Elena might be watching right now, actually. Elena Chekan, who is amazing Belarusian guitarist. And
Excellent.
she's recently done, I'm forgetting the name right now, but she's done a big, I think she just finished her doctorate, and her thesis was on a Belarusian composer. I can't remember the composer's name, but her music is really cool. I heard some of it when Elena played some in Spain when I was there. So Elena's
Very
amazing.
cool.
And who else do I have coming on soon? Oh God, there's a bunch of people. Just follow me on Facebook. Follow me on YouTube. You'll see it.
Let's get those links up there. YouTube.com/Mike Ibsen.
Michael Ibsen Guitar.
Mikhail Ibsen. Did I ever tell you that's my middle name?
Michael? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Ibsen Guitar /Michael Ibsen Guitar, and then
YouTube.com/Michael Ibsen.
no, Michael Ibsen Guitar.
Oh, Michael Ibsen Guitar.
Yeah.
Should know that. Okay, there we go.
That should work. Yeah, that's the one. Like and subscribe.
Yes, like and subscribe. All right.
Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, Mike.